This boy has a super exhausting night job, so when he shows up to school, the popular kids are all hanging out. But Aragi Kai just walks past without saying a word to anyone. When Mito Shuji greets him, Kai doesn't even bother trying to be friendly. That's why the girls say they don't even need to greet people like him. Every conversation is a total drag for Kai, but when this kid gets to the classroom, Arashi demands that everyone respect and greet him. But Kai, he just doesn't give a shit about these people. Arashi then calls out to him, super pissed, questioning if he wasn't going to answer when people talk to him. When Arashi tried to wake Kai, he was shocked by the main character's reaction. He screamed really loud to get his arm free, so Kai just made him shut up with a light squeeze on his wrist. So when Arashi finally broke free from Kai, he thought better of it and didn't want to insist on provoking the kid for now. The bully was scared, but when a girl said he was being too noisy, Arashi went back to being a jerk again. After all, it's just a girl. Mireille stepped in. She's from the disciplinary council and has authority, so the bully sat down but with his feet on the table. Obviously, what these students don't know is that the reason for Aragi Kai's extreme drowsiness is that he has a forbidden job at night. This criminal had managed to escape the police, but not Kai's blade. That's his secret job. Of course, Kai wasn't going to use his talents at school, but everything changed when he felt something weird. His instincts were screaming, danger. A blue light flashed on the classroom floor, and all the students panicked when they realized it. All the students in the room were teleported. An old castle, it seemed. Everyone was out cold on the floor. Kai was the first one to wake up, spotting stone walls, huge pillars for cover, and just one exit. Soon, the other students started coming to. Panic broke out, but Shuji stepped in and calmed everyone down. Kai felt a huge relief that Shuji was there to keep the class together. Then Arashi stood up, declaring they couldn't waste time, and told his two guys to follow him. Kai stopped him, warning that he heard footsteps coming from behind the door. Kai sensed a man and a woman approaching. Just as he thought, the door opened, and in walked a girl and an old man. They looked like something out of a medieval story, wearing weird old-fashioned flowy clothes and capes. The girl greeted them, calling them impressive and hero candidates. The students were totally caught off guard. Kai quickly checked them out, noticing the old man had the build of a sword user and was clearly on guard. The girl, though, seemed pretty normal to Kai, even with a hint of muscle. She introduced herself as Leonora, the Archbishop of the holy country of Digorest. The man with her was Gaius, her knight and protector. Arashi immediately spoke up, saying he'd never heard of Digorest and asking if she was messing with them. Leonora quickly assured him she wasn't. Shuji stepped in, explaining that they were all a bit on edge after suddenly ending up here. So the girl started telling them everything. She explained they had been summoned to a parallel world. They were humanity's last hope to defeat the evil demon king. Basically, they were this world's hero candidates. Yeah, that was a pretty tough one for the students to believe. Gaius immediately told Arashi to watch his tone with the country's saint. Arashi didn't even flinch, which made Gaius pull out his sword, but Leonora calmed him down. Then, out of nowhere, Arashi jumped right at Gaius. Kai couldn't believe how brave he was. But before Arashi could even land a hit, Gaius was too fast. He swung his sword, making a small cut on Arashi's head before anyone could even see it happen. Leonora quickly apologized for Gaius's aggressive move. She told everyone she'd explain everything in detail, but they needed to be quiet and listen first. Leonora's calm attitude suddenly vanished, replaced by a much scarier vibe. She explained the devastating truth. The Demon King's invasion had humanity on the brink of extinction. The country of Digorest was still fighting, but they just didn't have the strength to fully stop the invasion anymore. Kai, meanwhile, thought this whole story sounded pretty standard. Leonora continued, telling them they were humanity's last hope. The students immediately protested, saying they couldn't possibly do this since they'd never even fought before. Some of the girls were already in tears. Gaius stepped in, saying it might sound impossible, but they had to try. He dropped a bomb. There was no way for them to return to their own world unless they defeated the Demon King. This news hit the students even harder, leaving them absolutely stunned. Kai figured Gaius only said that to light a fire under them. He knew people who'd lived peaceful lives couldn't just start killing. That kind of thing needed talent and experience. Meanwhile, Arashi stood up, blood still on his head, and cursed them out for trying to boss them around. Arashi then told them he hated people exactly like them. Gaius noticed Arashi's spirit was still unbroken, making him wonder if this guy could actually be a useful warrior. But then, Gaius clutched his sword, deciding Arashi might just be too much trouble, and decided to kill him. Before he could make a move, Leonora was already there, healing Arashi's wound. Leonora explained that this power she was using was called the System, a gift from their gods. She put it simply for them. It was just like magic from their their world. Kai picked up on her knowing about their culture, making him wonder if she'd summoned people from their world before. Walking toward Shuji, she told them this system power was the very reason she'd summoned them. She raised her hands, and suddenly Shuji's wrist started glowing. In an instant, a sword made of light appeared in his hand. She explained that they too could use the system's power and awaken their innate abilities of divine protection. Leonora admitted she had a selfish request. She'd called them here, and now they couldn't leave, so she asked them to lend her their powers. Shuji pointed out that no matter how much power they got, they couldn't just start fighting immediately. She assured him they would definitely be trained and fully taken care of during that time. Shuji quickly took charge of the situation. He told his classmates he knew they were scared, but they first needed information and protection. For now, he said, they should listen to what Leonora had to say, and everyone agreed. Seeing they were all ready to help, Leonora began giving them their divine powers. Mireri got telekinesis. Arashi received explosion powers. Rina was granted fire powers. Yoshia got wind powers, and all the other students received various incredible abilities too. Leonora then asked if anyone was left, and Kai raised his hand. She gave him his powers, and Kai immediately noticed his vision changing. The moment he finished getting his new abilities, he could suddenly read Leonora's stats. Kai's eyes suddenly turned red. Leonora explained he'd gotten a super rare power called Judgment. This power lets him see any target stats and details. Of course, Kai immediately tried it on himself, and he could see all his own stats. Arashi tried his own powers, then immediately roasted Kai, saying he just got a new eye color. Kai noticed how all the other students were acting super confident and full of themselves. He found it funny because they knew nothing about this new world. Plus, their powers were just borrowed and could vanish any moment. But Kai, he was totally chill. He knew he had plenty of other ways to get things done, if you catch my drift. Once everyone had their powers, Leonora told them to get some rest. That evening, the hero candidates were led to their own rooms. But Kai wasn't about to stay put. He quickly snuck out his window, ready to find more info. Outside, guards were patrolling and chatting. They were making fun of how weak the hero candidates looked. They couldn't believe these kids were picked to take down the Demon King. One guard mumbled that the Saints must know something they don't. Kai listened to their whole conversation. He then used his judgment power on one of the guards. He quickly saw the guy only knew swordsmanship. With that, Kai quietly moved on, still looking for more answers. Kai also learned the city was super fortified. He wanted to get into the inner castle, but the gates were locked down with tons of guards. Sneaking in now would be impossible, so he decided not to rush it and would come back later. Meanwhile, out in an open field, Rina was scouting for a good spot with her two sidekicks. They were there to practice their brand new powers. The trio started conjuring their elements, watching them closely. Rina really wanted to understand all this divine protection stuff. Kai was hiding in a bush, keeping an eye on them, when he suddenly felt something weird. The girls heard a strange noise from the bushes too. Then a giant lizard-like creature burst out. It was clearly drawn in by the girls' magic. Kai quickly used his judgment power to check the monster's stats. He was seriously shocked. Its stats were insane. The creature roared and immediately started chasing the girls. Kai quickly figured out that while the lizard was super strong and aggressive, it only ran in a straight line and wasn't very smart. Kai threw a knife, and it pierced the monster's thick skin. Just then, Rina tripped and fell. The beast had caught up and was about to crush her, but then it suddenly froze. The girls looked around and saw a knife sticking out of the monster's head, bleeding. They wondered who had saved her, but decided not to stick around. So, they bounced. Kai didn't really have a reason to save them, but his conscience wouldn't let him just watch. He realized that if monsters like this were just roaming around, things weren't going to be easy here. He walked over to the monster's body to grab his knife, when suddenly he sensed someone nearby. Kai quickly ducked behind the huge monster's body, peering around, but saw nothing. He decided to just head back to his room and steer clear of any more trouble. After he left, a figure stepped out from behind a wall, completely cloaked in a robe. You couldn't even see their face. This mysterious person then smashed the monster's head, crushing its eyes right out. They muttered to themselves, super disappointed by how useless and weak these hero candidates were. But then, they noticed Kai. He smelled just like them. The next morning, Gaius showed up with a huge surprise: the dead monster's body. All the hero candidates were totally shocked to see something like that. Gaius explained that the monster was found dead last night near the royal capital. He continued that the Demon King had driven these monsters crazy, making them absolutely crave human flesh. He told the hero candidates they would be fighting creatures just like that one. Gaius then asked Steady, one of the researchers, if he'd found anything odd about the monster. Steady confirmed it. There were signs of sorcery at play, probably from a pretty strong demon, like a mid-grade one or higher. He thought maybe these demons were just scouting out the new, weaker hero candidates. Kai, meanwhile, wondered if sorcery was different from magic. It was a new word he'd just heard the researcher use. Shuji jumped in, asking if that meant a demon was controlling the monster. Steady explained that powerful demons could totally control weaker monsters using servitude spells. Gaius then dragged Steady away, even though he clearly wanted to explain more. Kai figured Steady would be a huge help for getting information. He definitely needed him. Then it hit Kai. Those eyes he'd felt last night? That was actually a demon. The demon was super skilled too, because Kai barely even picked up on them. He got this creeping feeling that the demon might still be lurking around, maybe even watching them right now. Suddenly, he felt eyes on him. Arashi told Gaius straight up that they couldn't even go home without killing the demon first, and he certainly wasn't planning on staying in this world forever. The other students quickly agreed with him. Kai thought it was probably for the best that everyone understood the real stakes soon. Just then, Leonora walked in, telling them not to freak out. They just didn't know how to use their powers yet, that's all. A little training was all they needed. Since they were from another world, their growth speed would be totally different from the locals. A week quickly flew by with the students in full training mode. Kai was busy reading books in the library. He could already read and understand every letter of the new language. Honestly, he still thought it was weird they could even talk to each other to begin with. His judgment powers weren't really good for fighting, so he was left out of battle training, but at least he got access to the library. He couldn't find many books about their history, culture, or even about demons. The top 5 students were Narumi, who controlled wind, Arashi with his explosive powers, Kenzaki, who had telekinesis, Hashimoto with her land abilities, and Reina, who commanded fire. But there was someone else whose power was growing at an absolutely incredible rate. Shuji was the one. He quickly became stronger than even his own sword teachers. Kai used his judgment skill and saw that Shuji's stats were all above B grade, a huge jump from being below D grade just last week. Suddenly, 2 guys walked up to Kai and started messing with him. Kai noticed others were also looking down on him now. These new powers were clearly making them feel overconfident. One of the boys tried to push Kai around, but Kai smoothly flipped him onto the ground instead. Meanwhile, Leonora and Gaius showed up at the training grounds. Leonora announced that everyone had leveled up faster than she expected, so they were moving things along. Narumi asked if this meant fighting the Demon King, but Leonora shook her head. They were just going to practice fighting monsters for now. Everyone looked a bit nervous hearing that. The next day, Gaius and Leonora led all the hero candidates deep into a forest. Gaius explained they were there for combat drills. This spot was packed with powerful creatures, so they couldn't just stick together as one big group. Because of that, they'd be split into teams of 2 or 3. As soon as that was announced, everyone quickly formed their own groups, leaving only Kai and Kenzaki without a team. They had no other choice but to pair up together. Kai thought Kenzaki seemed pretty confident and a bit uncaring, plus super proud. She even caught him looking at her. At the same time, Leonora announced that since this was a special event, the team that took down the most monsters would get a surprise reward. Soon after, the combat drills officially started. As they headed out, Kenzaki told Kai that her powers were way better than anyone else's, so she didn't need his help at all. She just told him not to get in her way. Kai just agreed, saying he'd leave everything to her. Kenzaki looked surprised, asking if he had no pride. Right then, Kai sensed 4 hidden creatures lurking nearby. Suddenly, one of the monsters charged at them, and Kenzaki immediately used her power. Her ability, called Domination, let her force her will onto any target. She simply commanded the goblin to bow, and it did exactly what she said. A few minutes later, Kenzaki looked super tired. She explained that using her powers for too long drained her mana, making her exhausted. Kai told her to just finish off the goblin, especially since another monster was about to strike. But Kenzaki hesitated, saying the monster looked a bit too human to her. Kai brought her back to reality, reminding her it was still a monster that just tried to attack them. He picked up a stone, thinking Kenzaki was just a naive student from Japan, too used to a peaceful life. He was fiddling with the stone when suddenly, the other 3 goblins appeared. Kenzaki ordered the goblins to bow, then snapped at Kai to help instead of just standing around. Kai shot back, reminding her that she was the one who told him not to get involved. She let out a sigh and then commanded the goblins to twist their own necks, and just like that, they were dead. Kai was pretty shocked, seeing her boss around like that. She explained that the tougher the command, the trickier it was to pull off. The dead goblins grossed her out, but Kai dropped some wisdom to calm her down. She wondered how he stayed so chill, especially without any powers. Kai just told her not to sweat it, saying being calm was his thing. He then asked if she wanted to bail, thinking she might be scared. But of course, she totally shot him down, full of pride. Kai knew she was just trying to act tough, but he had to admit she wasn't so bad after all. Meanwhile, Narumi and Hashimoto were scrambling away from a seriously tough monster. Running wasn't really an option, so they decided to team up and fight. They combined their wind and rock powers, hitting the monster with a massive boulder, but it barely even fazed the thing. They were totally stuck. unsure what to do next. Kenzaki was actually thinking about her own world. She really wanted to go back and show her grandpa how much she'd grown, repaying him for raising her. Kai snapped her out of it, asking if she still wanted to push forward, warning they could easily get lost out here. They started bickering back and forth. Kenzaki couldn't help but wonder why Kai was such a stubborn mystery. While they were messing around, a loud noise suddenly echoed. Kenzaki immediately knew it was Hashimoto. Kai asked what they should do, and Kenzaki quickly told him they obviously had to help. Over there, the monster had just chucked Hashimoto pretty far, leaving her hurt and bleeding. Hashimoto yelled for Narumi to run, but it was already too late. The monster was about to attack him next. Kenzaki quickly used her powers, ordering the monster to stop moving. Narumi thanked her, but Kenzaki warned that the creature was way too strong and wouldn't stay frozen for long. Kai asked Narumi if Hashimoto was still alive. Narumi confirmed she was, but she was hurt really badly. Kai told Narumi to pick up Hashimoto and get out of there fast. Narumi really didn't want to leave, but seeing Hashimoto's awful state, he had no choice. As Narumi left, Kai used his own powers to peek at the monster's stats. He was pretty amazed by how high they were, especially its defense. Kai immediately knew his attacks wouldn't even dent this thing much. He also saw it was some kind of mutant, and wondered what it actually was. Kenzaki yelled that she couldn't hold it back anymore. Kai told her she'd bought them enough time, and now they had to run too. She agreed, seeing how bad things were, but her legs just wouldn't move. She'd used up all her energy stopping the monster. Seeing how dire the situation had become, Kai quickly pulled out a smoke grenade and popped it. This gave him just enough cover to grab Kenzaki and vanish into hiding. She asked what the smoke was. Kai explained it was a smoke grenade he'd whipped up back when they were all training. He was actually lying though. Kai had brought some gear with him even before he was summoned here. Since he didn't have much, he wanted to save them and not use them carelessly. It was just basic assassin stuff. Kenzaki then apologized. She was the one who insisted they go help, and now she ended up needing saving herself. Kai cut her off, telling her not to say sorry, but to thank him instead. And just like that, they started bickering again. She thought they should run away, but he quickly disagreed. Just then, Shuji and the others arrived. Without a moment's hesitation, he charged the bear for hurting his friends. Shuji moved swiftly, landing a hit that injured the monster's hand. Rina jumped into the fight, unleashing her fire powers. The flames didn't do much damage, but they did manage to slow the monster down. Everyone then attacked the monster again. All the while, someone was silently watching them from a distance. Turns out it was a seasoned assassin demon called Delphus. He smirked, muttering that the armored monster stood no chance against these hero candidates because of their fast growth. Delphus especially liked how calm they were, particularly Shuji. This was supposed to be just a scouting mission, but Delphus decided it was time for a change of plans. He intended to finish them all right there, but while he was plotting, Shuji and the others managed to take down the monster. Delphus grinned, ready to strike. But before he could make a move, a dagger pressed against his neck. It was Kai. Delphus was completely stunned, wondering how he'd been caught like that. Stressed, Delphus couldn't figure out how Kai had gotten behind him so quickly. He desperately needed an escape route, but Kai was faster, slashing his legs and throwing him hard onto the ground. Kai told him to keep quiet. He didn't want Shuji and the others to notice them. He offered a deal, answer his questions, and he'd let Delphus go. Delphus didn't want to give in, but Kai clearly had the upper hand. Kai then asked if Delphus was the one who had watched him the other night. He explained that he knew they were being watched all along. His plan was to let Shuji and the others fight, drawing out the observer. Kai cut him off, stating he needed information since they were new to this world. He told Delphus he had to answer whatever he asked. Delphus just smirked and refused to talk, so Kai slashed his hands too, repeating that cooperation would be easier. Delphus warned him not to underestimate him. Then, he swallowed some poison he had hidden, dying instantly. Kai realized then that the Demon King's army would be seriously tough to deal with. Suddenly, Kenzaki came over, completely shocked to see the dead body. Kai asked how long she'd been watching. She replied, since he was on the ground. Kai explained that the dead demon was an assassin from the Demon King's army. He added that the monster they fought earlier was just a pawn, and even the first lizard monster was his doing. Kenzaki got a little scared, realizing the Demon King was actively trying to kill the hero candidates. She asked how Kai noticed the assassin when no one else did. Kai decided there was no reason to keep his secret. He confessed that his family was in the assassination business, so he could just smell someone else from the same line of work. Kenzaki was totally shocked by this news. Kai told her it was up to her if she believed him. He also asked her not to tell anyone about the dead body, especially since the hero candidates were already shaken up by Hashimoto's condition. She agreed, then commented that she didn't realize he cared about them so much. Kai replied that it was just because they weren't used to fighting the way he was. Hashimoto was in bad shape, lying on the floor, severely injured. All the hero candidates gathered around her. A student named Hano stepped up. using her healing powers to treat Hashimoto. Everyone watched, totally amazed by what she could do. Hano then shared the good news. Hashimoto would be healed in about an hour. Meanwhile, the hero candidates were busy hyping up Shuji for defeating the monster earlier. Just then, Leonora and Gaius casually walked in, and the candidates immediately demanded to know where they had been and why they hadn't helped. Gaius quickly explained that he had been watching them the whole time. He basically said it wouldn't be good practice if he just saved them every time. Shuji argued back, pointing out how severe Hashimoto's condition was and that she could have even died, but Gaius wasn't having it, explaining that putting your life on the line was a natural part of military drills. He laid it out straight. This was the kind of battle they'd be facing, so they needed to stop making weak complaints. Shuji wasn't done, questioning how an armored monster appeared when they were told the area only had weaker ones. Leonora jumped in, suggesting it must be because of the demon assassin, as armored monsters weren't supposed to be there. Unaware that Kai had already taken care of the assassin, Gaius and Leonora decided to amp up their defenses. Leonora wasn't done being tough, adding that they needed to seriously increase their training level. She bluntly said that at their current strength, they would all just die. This freaked everyone out. Shuji tried to reason with her, but she insisted that getting stronger was the only way to survive. Arashi wasn't having any of it. He didn't like being ordered around and stepped forward to confront Leonora, but Gaius stopped him. He made it clear that they were all just Leonora's pawns and shouldn't think they could disobey her orders. Things were getting tense. Shuji stepped in quickly to calm Arashi down, knowing they really had no other choice but to obey. Gaius seemed impressed by Shuji. He then told the candidates not to worry, calling them important pawns for the country and promising no harm as long as they acted properly. Arashi still wasn't buying it. He unleashed his explosive power on Gaius, but Gaius dodged it like it was nothing. He then hit Arashi so hard that he fell to the ground. With one last harsh warning about their weakness and how things would only get tougher, Gaius and Leonora left. Arashi slowly got up, his face bleeding, and swore revenge on Gaius. The next day, their training took a new turn when Steady the researcher took charge. After a quick chat about yesterday, Steady dropped a bombshell. They were going to fight monsters at his research facility. He explained the facility was filled with all sorts of monsters that he was basically breeding for his experiments. Soon, the drill kicked off, forcing the hero candidates to fight these monsters. Gaius observed something unexpected. Everyone was surprisingly calm despite the intense situation. Shuji tried to intervene, telling Steady the monsters were too strong for the candidates, but Steady was firm. He said Leonora had demanded he be very strict, so he couldn't and wouldn't ease the training. Steady added that with their peers, losing wasn't an option in the first place. He stressed that their will was the most important thing. Shuji wondered if that would actually make a difference. Steady explained that if they trained right, they could level up their powers and even unlock new abilities. Gaius then stepped in, telling Shuji he could see a new power in him thanks to his judgment ability. Shuji was totally shocked. He immediately asked Steady if he could test it. Steady was stoked to see the power himself, so he allowed it. Shuji unleashed his new power. In a flash, he cleanly sliced off the monster's hand and head. Gaius instantly knew Shuji wouldn't have trouble with armored monsters anymore. He even wondered if his own judgment powers had gotten stronger. Guy realized Arashi had also gained a new power, but he chose to keep it a secret. That same night, Arashi was making dark plans. Kill Gaius, tie up Leonora, and force her to reveal how to return to their world. Several other candidates backed him, eager to escape this place. Arashi approached Narumi, knowing he was tired of this world too, and asked him to join their group for a better chance of success. Narumi hesitated at first, but eventually agreed to team up. The next day, Guy found Shuji training intensely. Shuji admitted he still felt weak and needed more power. Guy countered, saying Shuji's current strength was enough to take down half the knights in this world, but Shuji wasn't satisfied. He insisted it wasn't enough to defeat Gaius and protect everyone. Guy then asked Shuji his opinion on Leonora and Gaius. Shuji replied that he knew they were just pawns in a larger game, but he also trusted they wouldn't actually harm them. Guy pressed, asking if Shuji was ready to risk his life until the Demon King fell. Shuji confirmed his resolve. He declared he would be the one to fight, becoming the country's hero and defeating the Demon King. In exchange, he'd try to negotiate for everyone else's safety. Guy wondered if Leonora would even permit such a thing. Just then, Leonora and Gaius walked in. Leonora announced that Steady would take over the candidates' training while she was gone. Steady readily accepted, and the two leaders departed. Later, on their journey, Gaius questioned if Leonora had made the right decision. She calmly asked why he thought otherwise. Gaius told her to stop messing around and get to the point. He revealed Arashi was planning something, and Leonora agreed, suspecting a rebellion was brewing. Gaius then asked about her next move. Leonora replied she was simply curious to see what they would do. Gaius worried a rebellion from hero candidates with powers could be disastrous, but Leonora remained unfazed, knowing they could never defeat her. She suggested they establish a strict hierarchy to crush the rebellion and completely dismantle their threat. Leonora also mentioned she saw other suspicious activities but decided to ignore them for now. Later that night, Kai was battling a monster. He took it down the exact same way he had on his first night. It only took him 13 seconds. When Kai used his judgment power on himself, he saw that he had leveled up. Suddenly a new monster attacked, but this one was tough. His blades couldn't even scratch it. This was the perfect chance to test his newest skill. He activated his new power, which could pinpoint a target's weak spot. Once he found it, he eliminated the monster in a flash. It was a decent skill, but Kai knew he needed even more to survive this world. He needed to become much stronger. More monsters kept attacking, but he defeated them far too easily. He realized he needed a tougher opponent to truly test his new abilities. Then, he heard footsteps. He spotted Kenzaki and asked what she was doing out so late. She explained she was looking for him because he wasn't in the dorms. Kai told her to leave, warning that the forest was too dangerous at night. He was totally used to night fights, but Kenzaki, not so much. She cut him off and demanded to know why he was even there. Kai explained he was just testing out his new powers. Kenzaki wanted to know what his new power was, but Kai just teased her. That's when she admitted she was actually worried about him. Caught off guard, she immediately turned red and started making up excuses. Suddenly, as they were talking, they saw smoke rising in the distance. A fire! Their dorm was burning down. They both rushed back, only to find other candidates already battling monsters. Narumi was super relieved to see them. He explained he'd woken up to fire and monsters everywhere. Kai immediately figured it was a human attack, and the mastermind had to be nearby. Kai told them to find and capture whoever was behind this. Just then, Steady appeared on the rooftop, saying their hunch was spot on. Kai realized how the monsters appeared. It all made sense now. Steady revealed these were all monsters from his lab. He'd even given them special medicine to make them stronger, because they were too weak before. Kai demanded to know his goal and why he'd gain anything from killing candidates. Steady explained it was a direct order from higher-ups. He was told to eliminate all the candidates, even if it meant losing his current job. He smiled, claiming he had nothing personal against them, but he sadly had to kill them all. They asked if Leonora ordered this. Steady quickly denied it, saying, "Of course not. That vixen wouldn't order this. It was the Demon King's command. He was the Demon King's spy." Steady revealed that if he did a good job, he'd even get a research position there. Kai confronted him, asking if he'd fallen so deep into darkness that only researching monsters mattered now. Steady simply replied that monsters were beyond human understanding. Steady commanded his monsters to attack. Kenzaki used her powers to stop them, but it was useless. They quickly shattered her spell and charged at her. Kai leaped in and saved her, which really excited Steady. He was amazed by Kai's power. Kai then kept fighting, taking down more monsters. Kai took down almost a dozen monsters. Steady grew furious, especially since Kai didn't even have strong powers to start with. Kai used his judgment power on Steady and saw that all his stats were weak. But what really stood out was Steady also had domination powers, just like Kenzaki, but way stronger. That's why Kenzaki's spell failed. Steady was totally shaken. He then used something he really didn't want to, but he had no choice. He warned Kai that he'd soon find out what it was. Kai jumped to attack, not wanting to waste a second, but suddenly, a giant red dragon appeared, spewing fire right at him. Steady's big secret was out, a giant red dragon. This monster immediately started throwing huge boulders their way. Kai quickly told Narumi to grab Kenzaki and get out, warning that another attack was about to hit. Kai used his power again, pinpointing the dragon's weak spot, its neck. He tried to attack, but his power wasn't enough to land a solid hit. Just then, Arashi showed up, immediately attacking the dragon. He started bragging about his strength, but the dragon quickly struck back. Kai told Arashi they needed to team up to take down the monster. Arashi wondered why he'd need help, so Kai explained he could find the weak points but lacked the power to finish it. Arashi stubbornly declared he didn't need a noob's help, but there was no time to argue as the dragon attacked once more. The dragon spewed fire at Arashi again, finally making him agree to team up with Kai. Kai quickly explained the weak spot, a specific scale on the dragon's neck. The plan was simple. Kai would distract the beast, and Arashi would hit that exact spot. Steady ordered the dragon to kill them both. The massive creature charged forward, but Kai drew its attention. Arashi seized the moment, striking the weak point, and the dragon crashed to the ground. With the dragon defeated, Kai taunted Steady, asking if he had any other tricks up his sleeve. Steady claimed he still had more monsters, but then learned Shuji and the others had already taken care of them all. Steady tried to escape, but Narumi quickly caught him. Kai demanded Steady tell them everything. Being a coward, Steady agreed right away. But before he could say a word, his body turned purple, and he died. He had been cursed to die the moment he tried to reveal any information. The next day, the candidates confronted Leonora as soon as she returned, since she was the one who put Steady in charge. She apologized, explaining she never thought such a weak demon tamer could cause so much trouble. The candidates were shocked to hear she knew Steady was a demon tamer all along. They questioned why she let a demon tamer be so close to them if she knew. Leonora defended herself, reminding them she'd warned their training would be tough, and this was just part of it. Gaius chimed in, accusing them of not being careful enough to spot a fire at night. Leonora then announced their next destination, the royal capital. The visit to the royal capital was for a public parade where the hero candidates would be introduced as the main stars. That evening, they all left for the capital and camped in a field once night fell. While eating, Arashi told his followers that the 30 accompanying soldiers weren't very strong. He declared it was time to put their plan into action, confident they could easily overpower the soldiers. He then told one of his followers to call Narumi and his group to their location. Kai overheard Arashi's speech. He agreed there weren't many soldiers, but realized it was because Gaius and Leonora were confident they could handle any threat themselves. Kai approached Shuji, asking if they could talk. Later that night, Arashi and Narumi met secretly in the nearby forest. Just as they were about to attack the soldiers, Shuji and the other candidates showed up, blocking their path. Shuji revealed he knew about Arashi's plan to kill Leonora and Gaius, which totally shocked Arashi. How did his secret get out? The group tried to talk sense into Arashi, suggesting there had to be a better solution than just outright murder. Arashi shot back, asking Shuji if all he did was talk, demanding to know his actual plan. Shuji replied he'd be a pawn, defeat the Demon King, and guarantee everyone's safety in return. But Arashi wasn't having it. He told Shuji to move, but Shuji and the others refused. With no common ground, a fight broke out. Suddenly, 2 soldiers walked in, telling them to get some sleep for their early trip tomorrow. Arashi just walked away, fed up with what he called their weakness, saying there was no point in talking anymore. The next day, everyone arrived at the royal capital. The place was super crowded because of a big ceremony. The street crowds were amazed to see the hero candidates, clearly placing a lot of faith in them. Inside the castle, Holy Knight Rhaenus greeted them, telling them to rest up first. All the candidates were thrilled with the royal treatment. Soft beds, hot baths, and amazing food. Kai, however, wanted to find out more, but the castle was crawling with guards. He then spotted Rhaenus, the knight who had shown them around. Rhaenus was telling his soldiers how strong the candidates were, way stronger than normal kids their age. One soldier worried that having the hero candidates in the capital would definitely provoke the demons to act. Rhaenus assured them not to worry, saying the candidates were tough enough to handle anything. Kai still had questions, so he decided to check out the town. That night, he headed to a pub, ordering some ale and snacks. People at the pub were chatting about the hero candidates, saying they just looked like regular kids. Kai also noticed that people seemed more scared of the church than of the king or nobles. He asked the bartender to spill more details. Kai said he was new in town and didn't know much. So, the bartender filled him in on the Demon King. He explained how the Demon King was attacking the kingdom and could even trick humans with his immense power. The bartender also mentioned how the Demon King's followers had blown up a noble's estate just days before. Kai left the pub, thinking that having the candidates in the capital probably wasn't the smartest idea. Then, Kanzaki suddenly found him, clearly worried. He explained he was just gathering info since they were in unknown territory. Kanzaki was super worried and offered to help. Kai initially refused, which she didn't like at all. After a bit of back and forth, he finally agreed to let her join him. He told her to gather information specifically about the royal capital. So, Kanzaki left to do her part, and Kai did the same. But someone had been listening to their whole conversation. A man smirked as he watched Kanzaki walk away. Kai finally made it back to his room after a long, pointless search. He didn't find anything useful, but he did discover a new enemy was out there. Suddenly, he heard sounds from the hall and stepped out to find the other candidates gathered there. When Kai asked what was up, he learned Kenzaki was missing. No one had even noticed Kai was gone either, since he had a room all to himself. But when they asked if he knew anything, he just denied it. Shuji figured Kenzaki wasn't in the castle. Since dawn was approaching, they needed to go out and search for her. Everyone split up to look, and Kai eventually spotted her student ID lying on the street. The moment he picked it up, 4 masked guys attacked him. But Kai was super fast, taking down 3 of them instantly. He then asked the last guy who they were, pointing out how amateurish they seemed. The 4th spy was totally frozen in shock, so Kai demanded he spill everything he knew. Meanwhile, in what appeared to be some kind of castle, Kenzaki was tied up. 2 spies grilled her for answers, but she stayed totally silent. They kept pushing, trying to get info about the hero candidates. Seeing she wouldn't cooperate, one of the spies ripped off her shirt. What they didn't know was that Kai was already inside, watching them. He used his judgment skills and quickly realized these guys were actually pretty weak. Kai couldn't believe such weaklings had managed to capture her. He wasted no time and quickly killed them both. Kenzaki, exposed, felt totally embarrassed to be seen by him like that. Kai unlocked her chains, and just as they were about to leave, he sensed someone speeding towards them. It was Reins, the Holy Knight. He attacked instantly, but both Kai and Kenzaki dodged. Reins just smiled, declaring that he absolutely had to kill them. Reins wasn't just a Holy Knight, he was also a general in the Demon King's army. Kai muttered that the country was practically doomed, seeing enemies even in the capital. Using his judgment, Kai saw that Reins was seriously strong. Reins was an absolute all-rounder. They clashed again, and Kai managed to dodge his sword, but then Reins blasted him with fire magic, catching Kai totally off guard. Kai somehow dodged that too. Reins then lit his sword on fire, confidently declaring it was all over for Kai. But Kai was faster, whipping out his gun and shooting Reins right in the head. Reins instantly dropped, dead. Kai hated using his gun for situations like this, especially with limited ammo, but he had no other choice. He realized he really needed to master close-quarters combat if he wanted to survive in this world. Kenzaki was shocked to see Kai with a gun. She admitted it was pretty scary to know someone in their class carried one. Kai simply explained it was standard gear for an assassin. She thanked him, and then he asked why she hadn't used her domination power. Kenzaki replied that once her hands were chained, her powers just wouldn't work. As they left, she mentioned the attackers were targeting their class, but Kai already knew. He'd gotten the intel from the 4th cult member he captured earlier. That guy spilled everything. The cult was ordered to kill all hero candidates and even pointed out Kenzaki's location. Their plan was to use Kenzaki as a hostage while going after the others, but there was a huge mystery. Kai didn't die from the death curse. Unlike Steady, this could only mean one thing. A demon wasn't behind this attack. Instead, it was humans working against them. Morning was almost here when Shuji finally found them, relieved to see Kenzaki safe. Kai quickly filled him in on the Demon King's cult and how humans were also betraying humanity. The worst part? Unlike monsters, they couldn't easily tell which humans were their enemies. This new threat meant everyone had to be super careful. They decided against telling Leonora, knowing she'd just tell them to figure it out themselves. So, they made a plan, gather all the candidates, and decide what to do next. Suddenly, smoke burst around them, and more cult members appeared, surrounding them. Everyone braced for a fight. It wasn't just them either. All the other hero candidate groups were also cornered by these attackers. Kai scanned the area, noting 6 enemies. Their stats were lower than Rainey's, but they were still tough. The 6 men lunged at them. Kenzaki used her powers to stop them in their tracks, and Kai wasted no time, piercing their heads with sharp knives for instant kills. Shuji felt a pang of stress, seeing them kill humans so easily. He tried to argue, but Kai quickly cut him off. "They're our enemies," Kai stated. Just then, a remaining cult member attacked Shuji, who tried to reason with him, but the cultist simply declared he was serving his master. Kenzaki was about to use her powers again, but Kai stopped her. He wanted Shuji to finish this guy. Shuji broke the man's sword and urged him to surrender if he wanted to live, but the cultist was stubborn, refusing to give up, and attacked Shuji, injuring his hand. Shuji retaliated with a slash to the man's body. The cultist whimpered, and Shuji wanted to just leave him there to die, but Kai was firm. "Eliminate him now, or he'll be a threat later." Shuji was hesitant, but in the end, he did exactly what Kai ordered. Meanwhile, Arashi and his crew had also dealt with all their attackers. Arashi mercilessly finished off the last man with his power, but Rina's group was having a harder time killing humans, and the other girls were getting hurt. Suddenly, Leonora materialized on the scene, asking if she should give them a passing grade. The cultists got even angrier seeing her. She calmly told them, "You're my candidates, so of course I'd come help when you're in danger." One of the men scoffed, "You don't even have your knight. How will you do anything? Leonora just taunted them, calling them a bunch of amateurs seduced by the Demon King. She didn't even see them as real enemies. All the men charged her at once, but Leonora simply used her domination power, sticking them all to the ground. They couldn't move a muscle. Rina remarked that her powers were just like Kenzaki's. Don't even compare my skill to that, Leonora snapped back. My domination is superior in every way, from range to raw power. Rina then asked why she even saved them. Leonora smirked. I did mention giving you a passing grade, didn't I? The men quickly thanked her for protecting them. One even grabbed her dress, pleading with her not to ignore them and to set them free. Leonora just glanced down, then apologized to him for still being alive. After that, she used her domination power on all the candidates. Her order was simple: kill the men lying on the floor. The candidates' bodies moved on their own, completely against their will, as they executed the helpless men. This was Leonora's power. Kai and Kenzaki watched the whole terrifying show from afar. Kenzaki was stunned. She couldn't believe Leonora could control so many people at once. Her range and power were truly on another level. 12 hours after the attack, all the candidates gathered back in the hall. Many of them were in really bad shape, totally shocked by what had happened. Narumi declared he wouldn't let Leonora get away with this, not after she forced the candidates to kill against their will. Shuji blamed himself for not arriving sooner, but Kai quickly explained it wouldn't have mattered. None of them were strong enough to resist Leonora right now. Kai knew for sure that with the demon army's general defeated, they couldn't make a move for a while. Kai then asked Kenzaki to come with him. She wondered why, and he told her he needed her help to find a way to fight Leonora's domination magic. He needed someone with similar powers to figure it out. Then, he asked Kenzaki to use her domination powers on him. Hearing this, Kenzaki got totally flustered and turned bright red. The very next day, after kicking out the cult members, the kingdom threw a huge parade. It was all to celebrate the hero candidates' summoning. This parade was proof that the candidates had really shown their power battling the Demon King's cult. The citizens of the royal capital welcomed them with open arms. When all the candidates gathered, Leonora told them she wanted them to go back to the temple city Alpha. Kai quickly told the others that Alpha was the city they were first summoned to. He figured Leonora probably controlled it. Kai asked Leonora if she wasn't coming along. She replied that she still had some things to handle, so she would leave them all in Gaius's care instead. Rina spoke up, saying they wished they could go back, but their dorms had burned down. Rina noticed one of the girls looked flushed and couldn't even answer questions. She was just too scared of Leonora. Leonora left with a smirk, and all the candidates felt a deep resentment towards her. Soon after, Gaius took all the candidates with him towards their destination. That night, they set up camp, and Arashi along with the others went into the forest again. Kenzaki asked Kai if they were really doing it tonight. Kai answered that with Leonora gone and the soldiers being weak, it was the perfect chance to take down Gaius. Kai felt there was no reason to stop them under these conditions. He'd just enjoy the show. Meanwhile, Narumi led Gaius deep into the forest. He claimed to have seen a giant monster. Gaius fell right into the trap. The road led to the royal capital, and a monster lurking so close was a serious threat. Suddenly, Arashi attacked Gaius from behind with everything he had. Gaius wasn't expecting it at all, took the hit, and started bleeding. Arashi then told him that even his strongest attack still couldn't kill him. Gaius was barely standing when he suddenly stepped right onto a landmine. Boom! It exploded, sending him reeling. Arashi just grinned, revealing the whole thing was a trap specifically for Gaius. Gaius used his mana to shield himself, but he still got badly hurt. Gaius stared, telling Arashi he was really disappointed. I didn't expect you to ambush me like this, he said. Right after that, Arashi's entire crew surrounded the old man. Realizing how serious the situation was, Gaius shot a bright signal into the sky like a firework. From a distance, Kenzaki and Kai saw the signal too. Kai scoffed. Looks like Arashi really messed up. That light ball was a distress signal, and soldiers quickly spotted it, rushing towards the location. But they never made it. Kai got in their way and took down every single one of them. Meanwhile, Gaius was getting completely swamped by the other candidates. He could barely keep up with their combined powers. It wasn't long before he lost an arm, his body completely covered in blood. Arashi actually complimented him. You're pretty tough for an old guy, he said. Narumi then piped up about the distress signal, figuring Gaius was just trying to buy time. But Gaius just replied, there's no need for that anymore. Just then, Leonora walked in, a casual smile on her face. Looks like Gaius is really cornered now, she observed. The other candidates were stunned to see Leonora. Meanwhile, Shuji, Reina, and some other candidates spotted Kenzaki using her domination power to tie up a group of soldiers. She told them she was just following orders, but they didn't buy it, knowing Kenzaki wasn't the type to follow anyone. Then Kai walked in. She's following my orders, he declared. Shuji was completely shocked again, learning Kai was the one who killed all the guards. Kai then explained that Arashi was already busy fighting Gaius, so he took care of the guards himself. Shuji and the others finally understood everything that was happening. Shuji asked Kai if he had teamed up with Arashi. Kai simply replied that he was just doing what he wanted. Then Kai told Shuji he should be looking for Arashi instead of bothering him. Shuji and the others took off, heading to find Arashi and the rest. Leonora then told Gaius that he was losing the fight. Gaius accepted it, admitting he couldn't fight against old age forever. Arashi then stepped up, saying that after everything, he wasn't just going to tuck his tail and run away. One of the candidates asked Leonora if she was the one controlling them. Leonora explained that other conditions needed to be just right. She said her control wasn't as effective if someone had a huge mana pool, making them harder to resist. However, for anyone who always relied on raw power and wasn't used to controlling their mana, it was incredibly easy for her to take them over. Arashi called her a coward, challenging her that she wouldn't be able to fight them head-on. Leonora just smiled. "I'll deal with you all myself," she declared. Leonora then added, "I'll break your fangs." Arashi immediately lunged at her, but Leonora was too fast. She summoned a massive boulder, sending him flying backwards. After that, she easily manipulated other elements like fire, water, and air to take down the remaining candidates. Narumi swooped in, grabbing Arashi and taking to the skies. Just then, Shuji arrived with the other candidates. He told Arashi to cut it out, asking what he even hoped to achieve with all this fighting. Arashi, defiant, told Shuji to try and stop him by force, declaring he couldn't stand Shuji's peaceful ways. Shuji then turned to the others, asking if they felt the same. Rina immediately stepped forward, announcing her full support for Arashi. Meanwhile, Leonora just laughed, mocking them for still bickering amongst themselves. Leonora pointed out that they were practically starting a rebellion right here. She then asked if they really expected her forgiveness, even if they stopped fighting right now. Before anyone could answer, she summoned a massive cyclone, injuring everyone present. Shuji tensed up, seeing everyone hurt, but Arashi quickly told him to chill out. He explained that if Shuji truly wanted to protect them, he needed to commit fully, or everyone would be wiped out. Shuji finally grasped the urgency. There was no other choice. He prepared for battle, and so did Rina and the rest of the candidates. Leonora declared she would show them just how big the gap was between their power and hers. Not far from the scene, Kenzaki asked Kai what their next move should be. Kai responded that they should wait until Leonora started using her magic to enslave the others, and then he would jump in. Until that moment, Kai said, they needed to trust the other candidates. The candidates were fired up and ready to face Leonora. Even Gaius, despite feeling weak, struggled to his feet, declaring he still wanted to fight for her. Leonora then completely healed all his wounds, making him stronger than ever and ready for action. The candidates felt a fresh wave of fear. They had worked so hard to corner Gaius, and now he was back in top form. Rina quickly reminded them that their numbers had grown too, so they could still handle it. Leonora then confidently told them they could attack her whenever they pleased. She explained that this entire battle was just a test. If they couldn't beat her, then they definitely weren't hero material. Soon after, the fight kicked off. Gaius quickly realized how tough it was to go against Shuji wielding his magic sword. Leonora blasted Shuji with water magic, but Rina managed to nullify most of it. Still, the attack left Shuji injured. The candidates launched their own attacks at Leonora, but none of them even came close to touching her. Meanwhile, Kai stayed hidden in the shadows, using his judgment skill to check Leonora's stats. He noticed that even though she was a super strong magician, her defense was surprisingly weak. Just one solid physical hit would be enough to bring her down, but Gaius was a huge obstacle. Arashi told Shuji to leave Gaius to him and go take out Leonora. Shuji, however, had his own issue. His magic attacks couldn't even touch her either. A candidate handed Shuji a steel sword, and Leonora smiled, remarking that he finally looked ready for a real fight. The other candidates couldn't help Shuji since their powers had no effect on Leonora. They also couldn't assist Arashi, who was locked in close combat. Arashi was able to hold his own against Gaius because, even though Gaius was healed, his stamina was still low. Plus, Arashi couldn't use his full explosive power, so it was an even match. Leonora kept launching ranged attacks at Shuji, making it impossible for him to get close with his sword. Shuji knew there had to be a way to close the distance and beat her, but he just couldn't figure it out. Leonora just smirked, saying she expected nothing less from Shuji, as very few people in the entire country could dodge her attacks like he was. The battle was still one-sided. Shuji just couldn't get close enough to her. He couldn't even rely on the other candidates. Shuji rushed her, full speed ahead, totally shutting down her wind attacks. Leonora then hit him with ground and fire spells, but he just dodged them all. She realized he was using magic like an unconscious armor. It showed how fast he was growing. She felt a tiny bit scared, but still easily tossed him away with her powers. Meanwhile, Arashi was in trouble. His powers were gone, and he had no idea how to beat Gaius. Gaius landed a swift strike, cutting his abdomen. Arashi was furious. He couldn't believe an old man was beating him. He dropped to his knees. Gaius told him this was his limit without powers, but Arashi wasn't giving up. He declared he was meant to be strong, then unleashed a punch so powerful Gaius hit the ground, bleeding. Arashi had won. Back with Shuji, he knew he had to win. His friend's fate depended on it. He rose, a dangerous aura building around him. Leonora saw his crazy stamina, but stayed calm. She was sure he still couldn't reach her. She was totally wrong. In a flash, Shuji was right in front of her, managing to cut her hand. She thought it was impossible, but had no time to process it. Now Shuji was behind her. She somehow used water powers to blast him away. She finally got it. He had gained instant movement. He flashed again, an inch from her neck, but then she suddenly commanded him to kneel. He froze, unable to move. Leonora smiled, saying she didn't want to use that, but he left her no choice. Gaius saw her finally use her trump card and quickly told Kenzaki to move. Leonora smirked. She admitted she didn't plan on using enslaving magic, but Shuji forced her hand. He lay at her feet, unmoving, like a statue. Other candidates charged to save Shuji, but Leonora simply commanded them to stop. They all froze mid-stride. Leonora told them they did well and would all get a passing grade. She also mentioned she didn't expect Gaius to lose, but whatever. He was just a knight and totally replaceable. As long as she controlled them, there'd be no issues. The candidates felt hope fading. If they couldn't fight back, they were doomed. Leonora then revealed the truth. They were allowed to summon candidates so she could control them when needed. Otherwise, they'd just become threats. Suddenly, 3 knives flew at her from behind. She dodged them easily, coolly saying she knew he was hiding. It was Gaius. He looked surprised she even noticed someone ordinary like him. Leonora shot back that something felt off about him from the start. She was disappointed he'd show up for such a losing fight. Then she commanded him to stop, and just like that, Gaius was under her spell too. She was busy explaining her magic when suddenly, BAM! A bullet nails her shoulder. Leonora is completely shocked. How can he move, let alone fire, while under her powerful spell? She's certain her magic had him locked down. Before she can even react, he fires again, hitting her in the abdomen. This strange weapon confuses her completely. Guns don't even exist in her world. Her defenses are useless against it. He quickly explains what a gun is, adding that he only has a few bullets left and doesn't want to waste them. Leonora unleashes her own magic, but it only burns his robe. He's gone. In the very next second, he's right behind her, his gun pressed to her head. He tells her she's not much of a close-range fighter, and more importantly, her enslaving magic also didn't work on him. She's absolutely stunned, completely in denial. This whole situation was a massive gamble by Gaius, and he totally won. The key? Kenzaki. Here's how it worked. The night before, Gaius asked Kenzaki to use her domination skill on him. He figured out that the first skill cast always has priority over any new ones. So, Kenzaki's domination, cast first, would cancel out Leonora's enslaving magic later. Plus, candidates have divine protection, making their powers stronger than regular magic. Kenzaki doubted it though. Her skill felt much weaker than Leonora's powerful magic. Steady's situation was similar. He'd cast his spell first, letting him regain control of his monsters. It was a huge gamble, but they had no other choice. Back in the present, Leonora finally realizes it must be Kenzaki's doing, and she's right. Kai is indeed under Kenzaki's spell. Kai then declares it's over for her and gets ready to pull the trigger. But instead of a shot, Leonora is quickly captured and handcuffed. These handcuffs are special. They seal her magic, and they're the same ones used on Kenzaki. She asks Kai what he plans to do with her. His demand is simple: send them back to their world, and he'll let her go. Leonora apologizes, saying it's impossible. All she can do is summon magic. Sending them back needs a totally different kind of spell. Kai knows she's not lying. She truly has no skill to return them. Kai then asks how she planned to send them back. After they defeated the Demon King, she explains that summoning takes immense energy, so they rely on their god for it. Basically, it was the god who summoned them in the first place. The god himself would send them back once the Demon King is defeated. But Leonora doesn't sound confident. No previous candidates ever made it back. They were all killed by the Demon King. Any survivors simply vanished without a trace. After a brief exchange, Kai prepares to finish her, but Shuji steps in. Shuji explains he only cooperated frustrated because he believed Leonora could send them home. Since she can't, he wants to keep his hero candidate status. He doesn't want to be a traitor in this world. Are we not already traitors? Kai shot back. Leonora quickly tried to calm him, promising she'd pretend nothing had happened that night. But Shuji cut in, pointing out that killing a saintess was a serious crime, and they'd all be in deep trouble. The other candidates mostly agreed with Shuji, though Narumi stayed loyal to Kai. Shuji admitted that killing Leonora made sense in some ways, but then asked the big question, what would they do after? Kai seemed to get Shuji's point, but then, in a totally shocking move, he shot Leonora right between the eyes. Everyone froze. As Leonora's body hit the ground, Kai tossed a smoke grenade and vanished in the chaos. The other candidates were furious about his sudden decision. Kanzaki, however, realized this was all part of Kai's earlier plan with her. Just hours before, they'd talked. Kai had told Kanzaki their first goal was to capture Leonora and find a way home. But if that failed, his backup plan was to kill her. He knew if they captured her and couldn't return, Shuji would likely protect Leonora. At that point, Kai planned to kill her anyway and then run, taking all the blame for killing the Saintess on himself. That's why he left a few of her guards alive, so they'd point fingers only at him. He instructed Kanzaki to put all the blame on him and head back to the Empire. Kanzaki wasn't sure she could pull it off, but Kai insisted she could, even suggesting she use her powers during negotiations. She then asked where he would go, and he simply told her not to worry about him. Meanwhile, far away in a dark castle, a minion was reporting his failure to kill the hero candidates to the Demon King. The Demon King wasn't bothered, saying not to worry. He knew the heroes would eventually show up on the front lines anyway. This whole game was getting interesting, and the Demon King was definitely enjoying it. 2 days after the incident, Kai was hiding out in the forest. He was near a city, about a half-day's walk away. Since he couldn't just walk into a city after killing a saintess, he planned to sneak in at night. He needed money and spotted a tavern. Inside, the place was lively, and someone struck up a conversation asking where he was from. Kai spun a story, claiming he was from a nearby town and now looking for work. The man suggested he become an adventurer. He'd pick up quests from the Adventurers Guild and get paid for it. The man added that the guild was desperate for new blood and wouldn't even ask for ID. Kai crashed at an inn, relieved no one recognized him. The next day, he headed to the town's guild, checking out all sorts of characters hanging around. He went to the reception counter and signed up. They asked for his name, age, and where he came from. Kai gave his fake name, Siren, and claimed the Demon King's army had destroyed his hometown. Siren was actually his old code name from his previous life. The receptionist laid out how the guild worked, explaining the ranks from A to F, where higher ranks meant bigger rewards. Since he was new, Aragi Kai was set up as an F-rank adventurer. He quickly headed to the bulletin board to grab his first task. It wasn't long before 3 guys showed up, looking to cause trouble. They started making fun of him, and Aragi Kai was not having it. Just like last time, when Aragi Kai was surrounded by adventurers telling him not to take a quest, Aragi Kai calmly turned to them, thanked them for the warning, and simply told them to leave him alone. This made the guys even more frustrated, thinking Aragi Kai was way too cocky. Others around the guild started murmuring, seeing that these bullies were picking on a newbie again. Then, one of the guys decided to attack, yelling that Aragi Kai needed a lesson, but to his total surprise, Aragi Kai effortlessly blocked the punch by grabbing the guy's hand. The attacker was completely shocked and immediately yelled at Aragi Kai to let go. Aragi Kai calmly released him because he really didn't want to fight. However, the guy then told his friends to jump Aragi Kai together and teach him a real lesson. They all tried to attack at once, but Aragi Kai easily took them all down and then just casually walked out of the guild. As he left, Aragi Kai thought about how he now had a good idea of the average adventurer's strength compared to hero candidates. It was surprisingly super weak. So, he made up his mind to finish his quest as fast as possible. The scene then jumped to a forest, where Aragi Kai figured the kobolds should be around based on the quest info. Suddenly, he spotted some animal-like footprints on the ground. He followed them, and as he went deeper, he sensed he wasn't alone. There were multiple presences around him. Aragi Kai also noticed these mysterious creatures were really good at staying hidden, making him pretty sure they were kobolds. Out of nowhere, a kobold launched a sneak attack from behind, but Aragi Kai sensed it instantly and easily dodged. He also saw the kobold was holding a human sword, which meant it had probably taken down an adventurer before. While he was still processing that, another kobold sprang from behind, trying to attack. This time, Aragi Kai dodged again, then scooped up some dust from the ground and threw it right into the kobold's eyes. With the second kobold blinded, Aragi Kai swiftly struck the first one in the face. As it hit the ground, he quickly grabbed its sword and finished it off. The second kobold watched in shock, but before it could react, Aragi Kai attacked and quickly dispatched it with a knife too. Aragi Kai then used his judgment skill to check the kobold's stats, realizing these creatures were no threat to him at all. Feeling super confident, he decided he could easily hunt down more for extra for cash. A bit later, the scene shifted back to the guild, where everyone was staring at Aragi Kai in total shock. Aragi Kai had brought a bunch of kobold ears as proof of his kills. He asked Mia, the receptionist, if that was enough. She confirmed it was, and then asked if he was truly sure he'd done it all by himself. Aragi Kai calmly said yes, explaining that hunting kobolds was actually pretty easy. The hard part was just finding them. Aragi Kai realized his fighting skills were top-notch, but finding stuff was still a weak point. Everyone around was shocked when he returned after taking down the kobolds. They couldn't believe kobold hunting looked so easy, even guessing he might be a C-rank hunter from some other city. Someone else quickly jumped in, mentioning they heard Aragi Kai was actually a newbie. Mia, the receptionist, then cut in, asking Aragi Kai to wait. She headed inside to get his reward ready. The scene then shifted to night, with Aragi Kai walking somewhere, counting his money. He was surprised he could earn so much just by hunting weak magic beasts. But for now, getting enough money to live was the top priority. So, he decided to stick around the city and make cash as an adventurer. Aragi Kai figured building connections at the guild would make gathering info way easier. Suddenly, someone appeared right in front of him. Aragi Kai looked at the boy and asked if he needed anything. He noted this kid seemed way stronger than the guys he fought at the guild. The boy introduced himself as Lyle, a B-rank adventurer, and the guy in charge of the city's guild branch. Aragi Kai just casually replied, "So what?" Lyle then asked Aragi Kai if he was the same person who caused trouble for his men at the guild earlier that day. Aragi Kai shot back, saying those guys started the whole thing first. Lyle blew up, yelling at Aragi Kai not to lie. He'd heard some random newbie beat up his crew. Aragi Kai didn't back down. "Yep, that was me," he said. Hearing that, Lyle snapped, declaring he wouldn't hesitate to teach Aragi Kai a harsh lesson. Lyle threw several punches, but to his frustration, Aragi Kai easily dodged every single one. Finally, Aragi Kai got bored. He used his leg to trip Lyle, sending him tumbling to the ground. Lyle was stunned, exclaiming, "What?" Aragi Kai told Lyle his speed was impressive but sloppy, and his moves were too big, leaving too many openings. Lyle became furious, trying to attack again and demanding to know what Aragi Kai just said. Aragi Kai blocked him once more, grabbing his hand and swiftly slamming him to the ground. He explained that Lyle probably wasn't used to fighting humans, since his quests usually involved magic beasts. Lyle angrily demanded why Aragi Kai attacked his men if he had so much power. Aragi Kai replied he already said it was a misunderstanding and offered to explain everything from the start. Sometime later, the scene shifted back to the guild. Lyle apologized to Aragi Kai, admitting it was all his fault. Lyle even scolded and punished his own men for lying to him, realizing he should have doubted their words. He shouted at his men, demanding they apologize to Aragi Kai. They reluctantly said sorry after Lyle insisted. Aragi Kai responded that as long as the misunderstanding was fixed, he didn't mind. He then mentioned he had a question. Lyle apologized again and promised Aragi Kai he would gladly answer anything he asked. Aragi Kai explained he was a traveler. He became an adventurer just to earn money for his journey. He also had another big reason for joining. Lyle, curious about Aragi Kai's immense power, asked what he was really looking for. Aragi Kai dropped a bombshell. He wanted to find a way to travel to another world. Lyle and his crew were totally stunned. They asked him to explain, wondering if that was even possible. One of them recalled hearing that hero candidates actually came from other worlds. Aragi Kai confirmed that's exactly what he meant, finding a way into their world. Lyle figured this whole thing must involve magic, which they weren't really experts in. Aragi Kai knew this information wouldn't be easy to find. He hoped Lyle's group might have a lead. Lyle immediately thought of one person, the sage Elbanakaret. "Who's Elbanakaret?" Aragi Kai asked, totally confused. Lyle was surprised Aragi Kai didn't know. He explained Elbanakaret was an elf, whose wisdom had helped their country a lot. Aragi Kai then remembered hearing that name before. He recalled reading about an elven sage in old books, knowing elves usually lived deep in the forests. Aragi Kai explained that elves were super rare now, almost like legends. They rarely left their forests. So, an elf who ventured out and gained wisdom became known as a sage. Lyle added that Elbanakaret was over 100 years old and famous for incredible knowledge. Lyle also mentioned Elbanakaret was a famous spellcaster, knowing tons of different magic. This made Aragi Kai think. Elves were known for their connection to spirits, which helped them with magic. Maybe, even if there wasn't a hero travel spell, Elbanakaret could still find a way. Lyle's subordinate, Raka, cut in. "Is this sage Elbanakaret even alive?" he asked. "I've never heard of them, and no one's ever seen them, right?" Lyle just laughed. He admitted he didn't have that info, and apologized to Aragi Kai for not being more helpful. Aragi Kai assured Lyle the information was actually very useful. He then said it was getting late, and he was heading back to the inn. Lyle, still curious, asked Aragi Kai what he'd do once he found a way to another world. Aragi Kai just smiled, telling them to leave that to their imaginations. Confused, they watched him walk off to the inn. A week later, the scene cut to the guild. Mia was handing Aragi Kai his reward for a completed quest. Outside the guild, Aragi Kai thought about how a week had already passed since he met Lyle's group. He'd saved up some money during that time. Suddenly, Lyle and Raka walked up to him. They asked if he was done with his quest and invited him out for a drink. With a strange, sad look, Aragi Kai turned them down. Lyle commented that Aragi Kai was super boring, and they said goodbye. As Aragi Kai walked away, he thought about how he finally had some info on the sage. Aragi Kai learned the sage's name, Elbanakaret. This sage used to be the country's advisor about 10 years ago. Now, Elbanakaret lives near the western border, right where the country is fighting the Demon King's army. With this new info, Aragi Kai figured there was no point staying in the city. He decided it was time to go meet Sage Elbanakaret himself. Meanwhile, the scene shifts to the Holy Temple City Alpha. The hero candidates are in a meeting. Heinrich, the captain of the 8th Night Corps, is talking. He mentions it's been a month since he took over looking after the hero candidates, stepping in for the fallen saintess. Heinrich then asks Midu Shuji if he has any complaints about how things are going. Midu Shuji quickly says no, adding that Heinrich is doing a great job. Heinrich is happy to hear that. He tells them the hero candidates are super important to the country, so he makes sure to treat them with respect. Hashimoto Mare thanks Heinrich for his concern, but she can't help feeling he's totally different from Leonora. Something about the whole situation still feels off to her. Heinrich brings them back to the main point. He explains that at yesterday's meeting, they decided to mobilize the hero candidates. Midu Shuji is surprised. He asks if this means they're being sent to the front lines. Heinrich confirms it with a yes. He clarifies that battles are still happening at the western border. Heinrich pulls out a map. He points out they'll be moving to a fort right on the front lines. Midu Shuji says he gets it and is about to bring up a promise, but Heinrich cuts him off. He assures them he'll keep his word to protect anyone not suited for battle. Midu Shuji thanks Heinrich, really grateful for the reassurance. Heinrich then says he'll give them some tasks to do for now. Everyone needs to contribute, he explains, to earn their place. Midu Shuji agrees, understanding that having work is practical. Hashimoto Mare asks when they need to leave. Heinrich tells them to depart urgently by the very next morning. He also asks Midu Shuji to tell everyone and make sure they're ready for the trip. Later, as Midu Shuji and Hashimoto Mare walk back from the hall, Hashimoto Mare feels relieved. Heinrich actually accepted their request. Midu Shuji agrees, admitting he was worried their demands were too much, but he's glad it all worked out. Hashimoto Mare figures the knights probably lack confidence in handling the hero candidates without Leonora. That might be why they're being so modest. Midu Shuji agrees, pointing out that with Leonora gone, the knights must be on high alert. Hashimoto Mare then wonders about Aragi Kai. Where did he go? What's he doing right now? Suddenly, the scene jumps back to the past. This is when Leonora was killed, and Aragi Kai left the hero candidates. The bishop tensely asks who could have killed Leonora. Nagase Reina drops a bomb. The culprit is Aragi Kai. She reveals he was one of the hero candidates. The bishop and his guards are totally shocked to hear this. The bishop urgently demands to know where Aragi Kai is. Nagase Reina says Aragi Kai ran away, noting he's surprisingly fast for a traitor. The guards start whispering. They debate if they should send an inquisitor right away, or first confirm if Saintess Leonora is actually dead. Arashi Shinshuka was fuming. He demanded the bishop explain himself. The bishop said he wasn't completely ruling out their story. Instead, he hinted that all the hero candidates might have teamed up to get rid of Leonora. Midu Shuji froze up at that. Then, Leonora's knight stepped up, totally surprising everyone. He'd seen everything happen. He told them Midu Shuji and the others did try to protect the Saintess, but Aragi Kai was too strong, and Leonora died. The second knight backed up his story. The bishop then said he'd believe it since her own knights were confirming it. The bishop then asked if Aragi Kai was really that powerful. Midu Shuji confirmed it. He explained Aragi Kai had been hiding his true power this whole time. The bishop then invited them to his chambers for a deeper talk. He asked one of the hero candidates to join him. Unseen by them, Kenzaki Rin was listening in from behind a wall, using her abilities on the knights. Midu Shuji felt relieved. Kenzaki Rin's help had gotten them through that tricky situation. Now, in the present, Hashimoto Mori asked Midu Shuji if he was still stressing about Aragi Kai. He said there was no point in worrying. Midu Shuji smiled and pretended to agree, but deep down, he was troubled. He knew Aragi Kai had sacrificed himself for them. Midu Shuji felt tense. He had sworn to protect everyone, but Aragi Kai had taken that burden instead. Now Midu Shuji felt powerless to help him. Back in the room, Midu Shuji gathered everyone. He announced their orders. They were moving moving out to the front line. He told all combat-ready personnel to get ready to leave by tomorrow morning. Some of the guys got super tense. The reality of a real battle was finally hitting them. Nagase Rina walked over. She told them it was too late to be scared, reminding them they chose to join the combat group themselves. Hano Shiori asked if they were the only ones heading to the front line. Mido Shuji replied that they'd be going with the 8th Night Corps, led by Captain Heinrich. Kenzaki Rin then asked Mido Shuji about Aragi Kai. Any news? Mido Shuji explained the temple had put a bounty on Aragi Kai. They'd sent a ton of people to hunt him down. He added that there was still no word on where Aragi Kai was. Kenzaki Rin looked really sad when she heard that. Mido Shuji was about to comfort her, but Nagase Rina cut him off. She angrily yelled that she didn't care if Aragi Kai was a traitor. If she found him, she'd totally burn him to a crisp. Kenzaki Rin was super upset. She just wondered why Aragi Kai hadn't taken her with him. The scene then jumps to the jungle. All the hero candidates, knights, and guards were trekking through it. As they moved deeper, Arashi Shunshuka suddenly sensed something and stopped dead. Right then, Hano Shiori also yelled out that she was tired. Could they please take a break? Hashimoto More quickly replied that they just had lunch, so no break. Looks like they'd be walking until dark. Some of the guys wondered if anything was actually going to happen. They'd been walking for 2 days straight with nothing. Arashi Shunshuka then told everyone to halt. The others asked what was up. Arashi Shunshuka replied he could feel a magical beast hiding behind the bushes. Just then, a knight showed up. He yelled at the hero candidates, demanding to know why they stopped so suddenly. Mido Shuji explained they felt a magic beast nearby, but the knight just yelled, saying he saw nothing. He reminded them they had to follow his orders and couldn't do anything without him. This made Arashi Shunshuke furious. He grabbed the knight by the neck, demanding to know what he just said. The knight, totally scared, asked Arashi Shunshuki what he was doing. Even Midoshuji told Arashi Shunshuki to stop, but Arashi Shunshuki just shouted back, asking why he should listen to some worthless knight. Suddenly, something attacked Arashi Shunshuki. He had to let go of the knight to dodge it. Turns out, it was a magic beast with a rabbit face but scary, weapon-like hands. The guards got tense. "It's a sharp rabbit," they yelled, telling everyone to get ready for a fight. But before the guards could even move, the sharp rabbits charged. They knocked swords right out of the guards' hands. One rabbit stared down a guard, ready to strike. But then, a massive fire flame burst out, seemingly from nowhere, and totally wiped out the sharp rabbit. It was Arashi Shunshuki using his power to defeat the beast. The guard thanked Arashi Shunshuki for saving him, but Arashi Shunshuki just told him to step aside and not get in his way. Then, Arashi Shunshuki easily took down every single sharp rabbit, one by one. Some students were totally shocked by his power. It was way more destructive than anything they'd seen before. But Arashi Shunshuki wasn't satisfied at all. He felt his power still wasn't enough compared to Aragi Kai's. The scene then flashed back to a moment when Aragi Kai had aimed a gun at Leonora. Seeing Aragi Kai again made Arashi Shunshuke absolutely furious. Arashi Shunshuke was seriously frustrated. From the very start, Aragi Kai had never shown any fear of him, which meant Aragi Kai was definitely stronger. Aragi Kai's total lack of reaction only made Arashi Shunshuki believe this even more. Arashi Shunshuki thought he was stronger with all the new explosive power he got, but it was super annoying for him to realize Aragi Kai was still even stronger. The scene then snapped back to the present. Midoshuji interrupted Arashi Shunshuke's thoughts, asking why he looked so annoyed. Arashi Shunshuke just brushed it off, saying it was nothing. He just hated being told what to do by someone he thought was worthless. Sometime later, the group arrived at Fort Truss, located on the western border of the Diggerest Holy Kingdom. First, Captain Amelia of the Holy Knights introduced herself. She was the leader of their order, stationed right there. Heinrich asked Amelia what happened to their previous watchdog captain. Amelia simply replied that he had died about a week ago. Hearing this, the hero candidates were a bit shocked. Amelia then started to say she wanted them to rest after their long trip, but she couldn't even finish her sentence. Guards suddenly yelled out, "The Demon King's army is attacking!" they shouted. Amelia, sounding surprisingly cheerful, remarked that as they all just heard, there was no time to rest. "I'm counting on you all," she said. Midoshuji agreed and told every hero candidate to get ready for battle. Arashi Shunshuki looked super determined, totally ready for the fight ahead. The guards rang the alert bell, shouting that the demon army was getting closer. Max was stunned by the sheer number of monsters. Why are there so many? He wondered. Heinrich quickly ordered the guards to start firing and thin out the monsters before they got too close. Arrows flew and fireballs blazed as the guards and fire knights attacked the approaching monsters. But even with all the hits, the monsters just kept coming. coming. They loudly declared their mission to destroy all humans. Mido Shuji was genuinely surprised to see them still advancing, taking such heavy damage. Emilia then explained that these monsters wouldn't go down that easily. She warned all the hero candidates not to underestimate the monsters' strength and stamina. Humans, she stressed, were much weaker in comparison. Tense, Mido Shuji turned to Emilia and asked what they should do next. Emilia told Mido Shuji to just follow Heinrich's orders. She announced that she would personally lead the Fourth Order Knights into the fight. Heinrich chimed in, saying he was about to give a similar command. However, some people were already down there, fighting the monsters. Mido Shuji, confused, asked Heinrich who he was talking about. Nagase Reina quickly told Mido Shuji that Heinrich meant Arashi Shunsuke and his crew, who had already gone ahead. Mido Shuji was stunned and asked Nagase Reina to repeat what she just said. As the smoke cleared, the monsters saw humans directly confronting them. They all laughed at Arashi Shunsuke and the others, calling them fools walking to their deaths. Arashi Shunsuke didn't care if they were demons or anything else. He simply declared he would wipe them out. And with that, the fight began. Back inside the fort, some monsters managed to break through a wall and started attacking the guards. Just as one monster was about to strike a guard, Mido Shuji quickly intervened, blocking the hit with his sword. Even the guard was surprised to see him. Mido Shuji then unleashed his powerful sword extend attack, swiftly taking down the monster. After that, Mido Shuji felt a surge of confidence. He realized his power was growing, and he could handle this. He shouted to everyone else, "We can win this battle! Let's fight without fear!" Hearing his words, every hero candidate was filled with new energy and enthusiasm for the fight. As Mido Shuji got ready to rejoin the battle, he reminded himself not to hesitate. He knew any wavering from him, as their leader, would make the rest of the team nervous. He remembered Aragi Kai teaching him about the cost of being naive. Hashimoto Meirei also urged everyone to stop watching and jump into the fight with Mido Shuji. Nagasarana started using his special attacks, and Kanzaki Rin began dominating the monsters. The intense battle between the monsters and the hero candidates raged on. Watching the hero candidates fight, the guards were completely amazed by their power. They were absolutely dominating the Demon King's army. Heinrich yelled out, instructing the guards to provide cover for the hero candidates so they could push the demons back even harder. The guards agreed and charged forward, engaging in a long and brutal fight until they finally defeated the Demon King's army. Emilia joyfully announced their victory, and the guards erupted in celebration. As the sun began to set, Mido Shuji was lost in thought. But Heinrich interrupted him, asking if it was his first time fighting like that and how he felt about it. Mido Shuji admits that handling such a massive battle is tough. He explains his focus narrowed during the fight, making it hard to give clear orders. Heinrich gives him props for his hard work and also praises the hero candidates for their part in the win. But Heinrich isn't letting them off easy. He warns them to stay sharp. They only fought mid-tier enemies with a small group this time. High-ranking demons? That's a whole different ballgame thanks to their much stronger powers. Mido Shuji gets serious, assuring Heinrich he'll keep that warning in mind. Meanwhile, the scene shifts to the Demon Den. A monster is reporting to Stone Gaia, one of the Demon King's 4 heavenly kings. The monster apologizes for messing up his duties, and Stone Gaia is not happy about it. Over in the great forest of Ekot, Aragi Kai is on the move. He's getting close to the forest's edge, thinking his trip to see the sage must be wrapping up soon. Suddenly, something zooms at him. Tongues fly out, aiming to strike. Aragi Kai somehow dodges, noting their insane speed and wondering what they even are. He scans the area, spotting new magical beasts. His system quickly labels them tongue baboons. After a quick status check, Aragi Kai shrugs. They're pretty weak creatures. The tongue baboons attack again, but Aragi Kai easily ducks out of the way. When he sees them closing in fast, he shows off his agility, leaping away to dodge their assault. The baboons lunge with their tongues once more. This time, Aragi Kai instantly pulls out his knife and slices right through one tongue. The tongue baboons are totally shocked by this move. Aragi Kai keeps cutting until he completely severs the tongue. The baboon tries a tail whip, but it's way too slow. Aragi Kai dodges it effortlessly and quickly takes the creature down. The other baboons freeze, stunned and tense, completely unsure what to do. Aragi Kai, now seriously ticked off, challenges them. "So are you coming to me, or do I have to come to you and finish this?" A little while later, the tongue baboons lie defeated. Aragi Kai notices more powerful magical beasts showing up, wondering if he's getting closer to the Demon King's territory. Or maybe it's just because this forest is far from cities, so fewer knights or adventurers come through here. He figures the deeper he goes, the more likely he'll find strong beasts no human has touched. Good thing his appraisal skill helps him spot some of these creatures. Aragi Kai decides to stay super vigilant from now on. Sometime later, Aragi Kai finally arrives at Mount Urugano. This mountain range acts as a natural barrier, slowing down the Demon King's army. He knows the highest peak is called Reaper Wolf Mountain, and legend says Sage Albama lives right at the top. Aragi Kai tries to remember if there's supposed to be a small village at the base of Reaper Wolf Mountain. When Aragi Kai reaches the village, he's totally shocked. The whole place is on fire. He immediately wonders if the Demon King's army attacked it. His suspicions are right. Monsters are everywhere in the burning village. Aragi Kai watches from a rooftop, completely hidden. This place should be far from the front lines, he thinks, deciding he needs to be way more careful now. The monsters asked their leader, Hector, what to do, wondering if they should just wipe out the humans. But Hector quickly stops them, saying they should enslave the humans instead. He then asks if they've found anything about Elbana Karet. A monster confirms the sage lives on top of Reaper Wolf Mountain. Hearing this, Hector gets super annoyed. It seems their intel was spot on. He stresses that Elbana Karet, the sage, is their absolute top priority. Hector tells his monsters to chill in the village for the night. Tomorrow they climb Reaper Wolf Mountain, but one monster sounds worried, pointing out that Reaper Wolf Mountain is home to the Reaper Wolfen, wild beasts nobody can tame. They figure if they don't beat these Wolfen, they're not getting anywhere near their goal. A second monster asks why. The first monster explains that mind control magic doesn't work on super smart magical beasts. He even heard the 4 heavenly kings once tamed a dragon, but doing the same with a Reaper Wolfen? Impossible. Hector chimes in, saying he's not exactly a magic whiz, so talking about powers they don't have is useless. Their only real choice is to defeat this untamable magical beast. The other monsters totally agree with Hector. Watching all this, Aragi Kai realizes the whole group is super organized under Hector. He wonders if it's because Hector is a high-ranking demon. Aragi Kai checks Hector's status and confirms it. Hector is one of the Demon King's elite high-ranking demons. Now, Aragi Kai knows a direct fight with Hector would be incredibly tough. Suddenly, Hector feels like someone's watching him. He orders his monsters to go check it out, sensing a presence nearby. Aragi Kai is seriously impressed by Hector's sharp senses. The monsters start looking for Aragi Kai, but he's chill. He's good at hiding. Then, Aragi Kai spots some captured humans, all tied up with ropes. Even seeing the villagers, Aragi Kai decides not to jump in. His main goal, just like the demons, is to find the sage Elbana Karet. He knows he has to get up that mountain before the Demon King's army does. Meanwhile, the scene shifts to the highest, most dangerous peak of Oregano Mountain, also known as Reaper Wolf Mountain. Aragi has somehow made it this far up. His map shows no clear path, so he decides to follow animal trails. His vision is getting blurry, and the ground feels super unstable. Even though he's in a rush, he decides to move carefully. As Aragi pushes on, he feels a presence. Could it be the legendary Wolfen of Reaper Wolf Mountain? He listens in and hears not 1, not 2, but 3 distinct sounds, and they're getting louder. Aragi realizes that even though these wolves are hidden, their presence is absolutely massive. Suddenly, he's totally surrounded. Just as they're about to strike, he leaps up onto a nearby tree. Agari was shocked when he finally understood why many people had gone missing on the mountain. He then used his appraisal skill to check the wolves' stats. They had average stats, but their real power came from working together. Suddenly, while Agari was checking them out, a wolfen charged the tree and snapped it in half. Agari had to move fast. He grabbed a leaf, pumped it with mana, and attacked the wolfen. In seconds, the wolfen was sliced clean in 2 and dropped. Other wolfen lunged, but Agari kept taking them down with his leaf. 2 more fell the exact same way. Now, about 5 or 6 wolfen got ready to rush him all at once. This time, Agari poured mana into his own body. He believed doing it on purpose would make a huge difference. Leonora once told him that people who always relied on divine protection usually sucked at controlling their mana. He also remembered Leonora saying that those who constantly leaned on divine protection didn't know how to control mana at all. She called them weaklings, which is why she could control everyone. No wonder they couldn't fight off her enslavement magic back then. Agari knew he had to get stronger and fix this weakness. He figured mastering mana control would also beef up his resistance to enemy spells. He also realized mana wasn't quite as strong as divine protection, but to truly get powerful in this new world, he had to learn it. so Agari decided to keep fighting the wolfen, practicing mana control as he climbed the mountain. Then, Agari suddenly sensed something and zipped right to that spot. He went straight for the wolfen leader. Once there, he asked the wolfen for confirmation. The other wolfen were totally confused by what Agari was doing, but when the leader attacked, Agari quickly defended himself and took it down without hesitation. Agari looked up and saw that the moment their leader fell, all the other wolfen bolted. Of course, it was the strongest magical beast in their pack. Agari then chased after the rest of the wolfen alone. Suddenly, something wild happened that totally shocked him. He saw a red projection of the wolfen. Agari wondered if his skill was showing him the wolf's future moves. He was right. It was predicting future trajectories. With this new power, he quickly took down 2 more wolves. Agari realized his prediction ability let him see about 1 second into the future. The remaining wolves were scared stiff seeing this, but Agari told them not to even think about running, and instead to stick around for a bit more training. Agari quickly took care of all the wolves. Checking his status, he saw his new skill, Divine Protection of Foresight. This power let him see his enemy's future moves. He remembered that his appraisal skill also leveled up when he got weak point detection. This meant his blessings went from normal to enhanced, letting him appraise everything around him. Feeling tired, Agari decided to rest. But then, he sensed something big, wondering if the Demon King's army had finally shown up. He immediately dropped his rest plans and rushed towards the strange presence. Meanwhile, near a mountain peak, monsters had captured an elf girl named Mare. Their leader Hector admired her fighting spirit, saying it was just like a sage's disciple. But then he declared her end was here, ordering his monsters to finish her off. Mare tried to speak, but a monster suddenly lunged at her. Suddenly, Agari appeared, sweeping Mare into his arms to dodge the attack. Everyone was shocked. Mare was stunned. A human had saved her. A confused monster demanded to know who Agari was, asking if he was a new enemy. Agari quickly scanned the area, realizing there were 10 monsters total, led by Hector, a high-ranking demon. Mare then asked Agari why he helped her. Agari shot back, asking if she was a disciple of Sage Elbenakaret. When Mare confirmed it, Agari simply said he needed to talk to the sage. That was his reason for stepping in. Using appraisal on Mare, Agari saw she was a half-elf and had spell skills. Hector grumbled that he didn't care who Agari was. He was clearly an enemy. He ordered his monsters to kill both the elf and the human. Agari knew he had to take down these monsters to save Mare and get on the sage's good side. The monsters charged, and Agari activated his foresight, trying to predict their every move. His foresight was amazing. He saw every attack coming, letting him perfectly block everything. The monsters were stunned. With a few quick moves, Agari slashed them down one by one with his knife. The remaining monsters watched in disbelief. Agari thought to himself, with foresight active, he felt invincible in close combat. His only worry was how long the skill would last. Meanwhile, Hector changed tactics, telling his monsters to stop charging and use magic instead. The monsters agreed and started firing magic bullets at Agari. Seeing the magic, Agari tensed up, knowing how dangerous they were. But just then, Mare cast a spell. She called upon Sylph, the wind spirit, and blew all the magic bullets away. What a save! Was that a spell? Agari asked, surprised. He realized only elves could borrow power from spirits like that. Mare confirmed it, thanking Agari. She added that because of him, the spirits could finally rest. Furious, Hector roared that they wouldn't win like this. He decided to jump into the fight himself. Agari got serious. He asked Mare, calling her an elf, to keep the other monsters away while he fought their leader. Mare said she could handle it, but told Agari to stop calling her an elf. Her name was Mare, after all. Agari quickly agreed, showing his trust in her by calling her the sage's disciple. Mare got super mad, yelling her name was Mare, but then she just sighed in frustration, telling Agari to forget it. Meanwhile, Agari faced Hector head-on and immediately realized Hector was incredibly strong. Even after clashing swords, Agari used Hector's blade to launch himself into the air, attacking with his knives. But Hector blocked the knife attack with his own sword. Then, Hector instantly hit back. Agari was super quick, dodging the attack and managing to slash Hector with his knife. Hector took some damage. Surprised, Agari had seen his move coming. He even called it a good try. Agari, though, was shocked. The wound wasn't just a scratch. He grew tense, fully understanding the power of a high-ranking demon. He knew his foresight ability was the only reason he was still alive. Hector taunted Agari, saying if he wasn't human, this fight would be over already. Agari used his appraisal skill to check Hector's stats. Not only did Hector have the strong body and sharp senses of a high-ranking demon, but he also had swordsmanship level 5. Agari knew a direct fight was a huge disadvantage, even with his foresight. He had to try something new. Hector yelled that if Agari wouldn't come to him, he'd come for Agari. Still, Agari somehow dodged Hector's rush. Finally, Agari's hand got a cut from Hector's attack, making him tense. He realized predicting the future meant nothing if his body couldn't follow through. The physical difference between them was just too big. Hector just laughed, mocking Agari and asking if he was only going to run around like that. Suddenly, Agari pulled out a gun and shot at Hector. Hector easily blocked the bullets with his hand, thanks to his incredible reflexes. Agari saw this and felt relieved the bullets actually went through Hector's hand, injuring him. Hector looked stunned. He shouted, demanding to know what kind of weird device Agari was using. "What an insolent device!" Hector roared, furious, and charged at Agari. Agari was ready to shoot back with his gun, but Hector easily dodged the bullets, warning Agari not to underestimate him. He claimed he could predict the bullet's path no problem. Agari ran out of bullets, so he started throwing knives at Hector. Hector just blocked them all with his sword. Then, to Hector's surprise, Agari suddenly stopped attacking and just sat down silently on the ground. Before Hector could even react, Agari hurled a bomb right at him. Hector wondered what the heck it was and charged at Agari, but before he could reach him, the bomb exploded. All the other monsters were shocked. Even Mare was surprised, wondering who Agari really was, seeing such amazing skills. She noted that a human was actually dominating a high-ranking demon. Meanwhile, Agari stood ready with a knife. He had no more ammo for his emergency handgun, and that grenade was his absolute last resort. Seeing Hector getting back up, Agari knew guns and grenades weren't enough to beat him. Hector was absolutely furious now. Agari was using too many unfamiliar devices in their fight. Hector attacked him with full rage, but Agari managed to dodge. In that moment, Agari decided to activate his weak point detection skill, but first, he had to carefully study Hector's movements. Hector geared up for his attack, but Agari was already ahead, seeing exactly where Hector would strike and finding the perfect weak spot, the neck. He got into position, knife ready. Hector charged right into it, basically impaling himself on Agari's blade, which went straight for his neck. Hector was stunned. How did Agari hit him so perfectly? Agari knew his weak point detection skill was awesome, but it sucked mana dry. Suddenly exhausted, he just sat down. Agari tensed up, realizing his mana was completely gone. This was super bad news. The other monsters noticed Hector was dead, and seeing Agari's exhaustion, they decided to strike. Mir also panicked. Her spirits were all used up, but she desperately wanted to help Agari, if only to repay him for saving her earlier. Just as the monsters lunged at Agari, a huge fire spell exploded. It swallowed the whole group in flames, wiping them out instantly. Agari realized this firepower was way beyond what Nagase Reina could do. Then, a voice spoke from Meir's side, apologizing for being late. Meir was thrilled to see her, calling her master. That's when Agari connected the dots. This was Elbana Karet, the sage he'd been looking for. Elbana Karet thanked Agari, saying it looked like he was helping her disciple out. Agari quickly replied it was just a coincidence, then asked if she really was the great sage Elbana Karet. She confirmed it, adding that she was just old and frail compared to her past self. Agari tried to use his appraisal skill, but his mana was still too low. Even without appraisal, Agari knew Sage Elbana Karet was incredibly powerful. He'd never be able to defeat her, so he figured there was no point hiding anything. He just had to be honest. Elbana Karet asked Agari if he had business with her, and he said yes. She mentioned that no one came to her without a reason, and thanked him again for saving her disciple. She promised to do her best to answer his questions. Mir then suggested they head home. The area smelled like blood, and wolves might show up soon. Elbana Karet agreed and invited Agari to come with them, saying he needed rest too. Agari accepted. As they walked, he mused that things were looking good, and helping her disciple had definitely paid off. Sometime later, Agari and the others arrived at Elbana Karet's house. Once inside, Mir announced she was going to take a bath. Agari then asked Elbana Karet why she lived somewhere so remote. Elbana Karet replied she had a few reasons, but mostly she wanted to get back to nature. Even after retiring, many people still tried to use her. Agari understood, noting that her home wasn't exactly easy to get to. Elbana Karet mentioned that skilled people like him did sometimes find their way to her. She wasn't an evil person to turn away those who sought her out. Agari then went straight to the point. He was one of the hero candidates tasked with defeating the Demon King. Elbana Karet responded, saying they were the third generation of candidates. Elbana Karet had heard rumors, but never thought the summoning had actually happened. Agari was shocked to learn he was part of the third generation. He then remembered Leonora hinting that other heroes had been summoned before him. Elbana Karet confirmed they had summoned heroes about 4 years ago, which was their second time. The first summoning happened around 10 years prior. She explained that both previous previous groups of heroes tried to fight the Demon King, but all of them were wiped out. After that, the summoning ritual was sealed away, never meant to be used again. But Saintess Leonora planned to break that rule and summon a third generation. Elbina Kare was against it, believing it was crazy to trust a country's future to someone from another world, even if a god wanted it. Agari then calmly revealed that he had already dealt with Leonora. This meant no one else could perform another summoning ritual. Elbina Kare couldn't believe it. How could he possibly defeat Leonora? Agari just smiled and said there are many ways to beat someone, even if they're much stronger. Elbina Kare laughed, agreeing that it made sense. She found it pretty funny that Leonora was taken down by her own pawn. So Leonora got what she deserved? Elbina Kare mused. She then understood Agari's desire to go home. It was a natural wish. She declared she didn't like to talk much and would get straight to business. Her spells couldn't send them back home. Agari was shocked and disappointed to hear this. He asked if she had any idea how they could return. Elbina Kare explained that summoning people with human magic was possible, but sending them back? Not anymore. That knowledge was lost centuries ago because no one needed to research it. Agari noted that Leonora had said the same thing. He asked, did they basically have no choice but to defeat the Demon King? Elbina Kare replied that was probably true, or maybe, with some demonic arts, it could be done. Hearing about demonic arts, Agari decided that was his next lead. Elbina Kare apologized for not helping more and thanked him for saving her disciple. She promised to tell him if she found anything useful. Agari thanked her. Elbina Kare smiled, suggesting that maybe he actually could defeat the Demon King. Agari said he didn't want such a difficult job, but if there was no other way, he'd have to take down the Demon King. Elbina Kare tensed up, seeing the rage and murderous intent on his face. She thought Agari was different from other heroes she'd met, like he came from a dark, cold place. Finally, Agari thanked Elbina Kare for her time. He asked her to contact Siren at the Adventurers Guild if she found any useful information. Elbina Kare then decided to let Mare go with Agari. Just as Mare finished her bath, she told Agari he should take one too. He was probably pretty dirty after the mountain climb and the fight. Agari agreed with Mare, deciding she was right about the bath. But Elbina Kare cut in, telling Agari she had an idea. Agari asked what it was. Elbina then dropped a question on Agari. Why don't you take my disciple with you? Mare was totally surprised. Disciple? You mean me? She blurted out. Suddenly the scene jumps forward. Agari and Mare are already on the move, deep in the Veldora demonic kingdom's eastern region. This area is actually the frontline battlefield against the Holy Kingdom of Dagarest. So it seems Agari did end up taking Mare on his journey. Agari commented on the good weather, noting he'd heard the demon territory was super harsh. Mare quickly corrected him, explaining they were still in what used to be Holy Kingdom land. She added that the truly bad weather would hit them once they went deeper into Veldora. Agari quickly caught on that the Demon King's army had invaded and taken over this territory. Mare continued, pointing out a big city called Nutrat near the western Urugano mountain range. She said there used to be villages around it. That city, she revealed, had fallen to the Demon King's army and was now the front line, their destination. She figured it would take them about 2 days of walking to get there. Agari hesitantly asked what happened to the people from those villages. Mare's voice turned sad as she explained. Half the population was killed, she said, and the rest were enslaved by demons for forced labor. Only a few lucky ones managed to escape to the other side of the mountains. Hearing this, Agari nodded. He was really impressed by Mare's knowledge and felt even more confident that bringing her along was the right call. But hold on, let's rewind a bit. This takes us back to when Elbina Kare first asked Agari to take Mare. Agari straight up declined at first, which shocked Mare. She yelled at him to at least think about it. Elbina just laughed, telling Agari to watch his words. She reminded him that for someone new to this world, Mare would be incredibly useful. Her family's knowledge, passed down for generations, was extensive. Elbina also confessed she'd been looking for a chance to send Mare on an adventure, but she worried about her adorable disciple going alone. Agari looked confused. He asked Elbina why she was trusting Mare to him when she could just take Mare herself. Elbina explained she couldn't go on journeys anymore. Even if she looked young and healthy, her time and abilities were limited. Then, Agari showed up and saved Mare's life. Mare started to express her thanks, but said she needed time to think. Agari cut her off. He told her he was going to infiltrate demon territory, a super dangerous trip. He warned her clearly, if you slow me down, I'll leave you behind. Elbina then went to Mare, reminding her it was her own life, her decision. Mare focused on that phrase, her life. She then declared, "I get it. I'm ready to go with Agari." And with that, we're back in the present. Agari tense. "You look tired," he told Mare. "Just so you know, we still have a whole day of walking ahead." Mare responded, "Don't expect too much from a spellcaster's body." She clarified that even though she focused on magic, she had been training her body the whole time. Agari then suggested they stop for the day and rest. Mare was surprised. "Didn't you say you'd leave me if I slowed you down?" she asked. Agari looked at her like she was crazy. "What nonsense are you talking about?" he said. "I wouldn't leave you for something like that." He then told her to hurry up and set up camp. Mar, clearly impressed by his response, understood and said she'd have it ready in just a few minutes. Night fell. Agari and Mare sat by a bonfire. Mare was eating, and Agari just watched her, looking a little uncertain. Agari then reminded Mare that their journey was about to get super dangerous. He swore he wouldn't back down, no matter how tough things got, because he had to get back home. But he wondered if Mare had a good enough reason to stick with him. Agari then asked if Elbanakarat was telling the truth, and if Mare had her own reasons for joining. Mare admitted it was hard to explain. She shared that she had lost everything. Her old home, the Elven village, was wiped out by the Demon King's army. Agari was surprised and asked if the war wasn't just between humans and monsters. Mare brushed it off, saying those lines didn't matter. The demons just crushed everyone. She then revealed that her father, mother, and even her little brother were all killed. Her dad sacrificed himself, drawing the monster's attention away, and that's how she survived. Mare remembered being helpless back then. After the Demon King's army left, they just left her for dead. That's when Elbanakarat found her, took her in, and became her master and mentor. Agari cut her off, saying he didn't care about her past. He just wanted to know her goal. Mare shot back that he should have figured it out. She became Elbanakarat's student and a spellcaster for one reason, to get strong enough to beat monsters. Mare's eyes burned with fury and vengeance. She declared that everything she learned over the past 10 years, all her training, was for one thing: revenge. She swore she would personally take down the guy who killed her family. Agari, taken aback, asked for the demon's name. Mare revealed it was Wimberg, the Heavenly King of the Wind. He was one of the Demon King's top leaders, part of the 4 Heavenly Kings. Agari then asked if Mare joined him just to get closer to Wimberg. He added that, for now, he didn't have his own personal beef with demons. Mare also confessed she didn't get why Elbanakarat gave her permission to go after meeting Agari. She admitted she had no clue what her master was thinking. That's why, for now, she'd just follow Agari's lead. Agari simply said he understood her situation. Agari then remembered Elbanakarat telling him to look after Mare, totally confident he could handle her. It all clicked for Agari. Elbanakarat didn't want his student traveling alone because Mare might just blindly throw her life away seeking revenge. Mare quickly apologized for getting so serious and told Agari not to worry. She didn't want to drag him into her revenge mission. Agari understood Mare was set on getting her revenge alone. He told her to drop it and get some sleep. They had to travel tomorrow. Mare agreed. She said she'd set up some spirits to keep watch and alert them if any monsters showed up. Mare then slept soundly, but Agari couldn't stop thinking about the Demon King's 4 Heavenly Kings. He watched Mare sleeping, then quietly slipped out of the tent. He remembered his last enemy was a high-ranking demon. Now he was up against someone even tougher. Knowing they needed to get way stronger before fighting such big threats, Agari pushed those thoughts aside for now. Worrying about it wouldn't help right now. Meanwhile, at the Holy Kingdom's fort, officials gathered. They felt it was finally time to attack, especially with the hero candidates here. Everyone agreed and started discussing where to strike first. Amelia suggested hitting Fort Arliss first. It was once their stronghold, and now served as the enemy's frontline base. Taking it back would be a huge win. If we break them here, Heinrich added, the enemy will definitely pull back. But Heinrich saw it as a reckless move. They had only been defending until now, so why suddenly attack? The officials challenged Heinrich, asking if he'd hesitate even if the hero candidates were under his command. Emilia admitted Heinrich had a point. Still, she argued, the enemy might be underestimating them, so a surprise offensive could work. Then she turned to Midoshuji, asking if his body had been found. Midoshuji simply said yes. He was ready to fight if commanded, sword in hand. Soon after, Heinrich, Midoshuji, and Hashimoto Mare left the meeting. Heinrich mentioned the plan was set for the next day, surprised by Emilia's aggressive stance. Hashimoto Mare asked Heinrich if he thought the plan would actually work, noting how confident everyone seemed. Midoshuji chimed in, saying if they were going to attack, doing it while the enemy was still regrouping was smart. He believed it wasn't a mistake, but Heinrich disagreed, worried they were putting too much faith in the hero candidate's strength, leading to overconfidence. Heinrich added that even though they were only reinforcing defenses, they couldn't defy orders from above. Hashimoto Mare, tense, asked, So, we really don't have a choice, do we? Heinrich replied. Of course. I'll support them all I can. But the hero candidates are key here, so tell them to get some good sleep. Suddenly, Midoshuji felt a wave of tension. He had a bad feeling about it, but knew they had no other option. The next day, near Fort Arliss, everyone was ready. The hero candidates and Heinrich's team prepared to assault the fort. Nagase Rina wondered why they were attacking in broad daylight. Wouldn't a surprise night attack be better? Heinrich explained that demons see perfectly in the dark. Attacking at night would actually put them at a disadvantage. Midoshuji then clarified their main goal: defeat the monster leader. The main force would keep the other monsters busy. He reminded everyone the leader was probably a high-ranking demon. Midoshuji told the hero candidates he would lead the charge. If he ever got separated, they should either buy time or retreat. Just then, a guard rushed up to Heinrich. The message from the main force was clear. Time to begin the operation. Heinrich gave the command. Charge! Midoshuji and the others didn't wait. They stormed the fort without hesitation, bursting inside. Emilia's voice rang out. Annihilate those monsters. Unknown to them, Stone Gaia, the demon army king, watched their every move. Moments later, Heinrich and some hero candidates burst into the fort's main tower. The monsters inside were totally stunned. They tried to attack, but Midoshuji wiped them out in seconds. Heinrich warned Midoshuji not to relax. There was a good chance the enemy leader was still in the hall. Suddenly, monsters swarmed them from both sides, cutting off their escape. Some hero candidates nervously asked Midoshuji what their next move should be. Heinrich tells Midoshuji to keep their backs to the 8th Night Order and push towards their goal. Midoshuji agrees with the plan and calls out to Nagaserena. Nagaserena confidently replies that she already knows her role to eliminate the monsters in their way. Nagaserena unleashes her power and the others jump into action. They quickly take down all the monsters blocking their path. Finally, they open the huge door, but everyone freezes. A humanoid figure stands there, stunning them all. Sam tensely asks, what the heck is this now? Arashi Shunshuki then asks the Demon King if this figure is their leader. The figure introduces himself as Stone Gaia, one of the Demon King's 4 heavenly kings. Kenzaki Rin and Hashimoto More instantly tense up upon hearing this. Even Midoshuji feels a chill. The pressure from Stone Gaia is totally off the charts. He draws his sword, challenging them to a power showdown. Midoshuji tells everyone to get ready, but he's secretly trying to find his own courage. He knows if they lose here, all the main force's sacrifices would be for nothing. Everyone prepares to fight, but Stone Gaia just sits down and touches the ground instead. Midoshuji is confused. Then, to their surprise, an orange circle appears around Stone Gaia. All the hero candidates instantly tense up. Dirt surges from the ground, summoning tons of golems right in front of Raka and the others. Everyone is shocked. Stone Gaia then commands the golems to attack and wipe out the hero candidates. Midoshuji shouts for everyone to hold them off. Narumi Yoshia confirms and starts attacking. He uses his nature power, cutting down golems with sharp leaves. Arashi Shunshuki joins in too, punching through golems with fire blasts. Arashi Shunshuki laughs, saying, no matter how many golems there are, these slow-moving things are nothing. But then, Stone Gaia uses his magic. The broken golems start regenerating their bodies. The hero candidates are shocked, wondering how that's even possible. They keep fighting, breaking down golems only to see them regenerate again. At one point, Raka almost gets hit by a golem. Luckily, Kenzaki Rin uses her domination attack to take control of some of them. But when someone else tries to hit a controlled golem, it surprisingly strikes back. Hashimoto Mare attacks furiously with her telekinesis, smashing the golems. To their frustration, the golems just start regenerating again moments later. Arashi Shunshuki is frustrated, realizing this regeneration seems endless. That's when Narumi Yoshia remembers similar manga situations. Taking out the summoner is usually the best move. Narumi Yoshia tells Midoshuji they'll handle the golems. He advises Midoshuji to focus on confronting the summoner instead. Midoshuji understands. He and Arashi Shunshuki will take on the summoner. They charge furiously towards Stone Gaia, ready to attack. Stone Gaia smiles, telling the hero candidates they're underestimating him. He uses magic again, summoning stones from the ground and hurling them at Midoshuji. Midoshuji tensely tries to dodge by running, but to his shock, the stones follow him no matter where he goes. Midoshuji couldn't dodge the stones and got hit. Everyone screamed his name, worried, but Midoshuji just waved it off, saying he was fine. What Stone Gaia didn't know was that this was all a trick. Midoshuji was just distracting him so Arashi Shunshuki could sneak in for a surprise attack from behind. And it worked. Arashi Shunshuki got right behind Stone Gaia and landed a super strong punch full of his flame power. Everyone watched, holding their breath. Had Arashi Shunshuki just taken down the Demon King? But as the smoke cleared, it showed Arashi Shunshuki had actually hit a wall of dust and clay. Then the wall punched Arashi Shunshuki right in the stomach. He passed out cold. Stone Gaia just laughed, asking if that was all the heroes had. So, what's next for Mido Shuji and the others? Can they beat Stone Gaia, or is this the end? While they were battling one of the 4 heavenly kings, our main man Aragi Kai finally reached the fallen city of Neutrat. They had to take a super secret route to avoid being seen. Only a fire spell on a scepter lit their way as they went deep under the city. Mare somehow got talked into going through the city's super stinky sewers, holding her nose the whole time. Kai, though, didn't even care about the gross smell. Mare had to admit she never would have thought of sneaking into a city through the sewers. Kai just told her to be a bit more patient. They'd be there soon. They needed to watch out for Demon's amazing night vision, especially since the city had so many open spots. Plus, Neutrat was a frontline city, meaning security would be super tight. After a few more minutes walking through the smelly tunnels, they finally made it out. Just like that, the duo had snuck into Neutrat without anyone noticing, though they smelled like total dookie. The moment they stepped into the actual city, Kai got a really bad feeling. His instincts told him someone was coming, so they quickly hid in a barrel, totally like a 90s cartoon. Moments later, 2 guard demons walked down the street. One grumbled about being picked to guard the witch. But serving the witch wasn't about what you'd achieved. The whiny guard might not have wanted the job, but he definitely had the skills. That didn't stop him from getting chewed out by the witch, though. As the 2 demons walked off, still complaining about their bosses, Kai and Mare popped out. Kai wondered what the big deal was with this witch. He knew she was supposed to be the demon princess and the new boss of Neutrat City. Mare knew her as the Witch of Space, and she was their target right now. Before all this, the sage had suggested Kai meet with the Witch of Space in Neutrat. She might be the only one who could grant his wish. They were in the city, but getting to the princess? That needed some serious planning to avoid a fight they couldn't win. A pro-assassin would gather intel quietly, and that's exactly what Kai planned to do. Mare promised to stay out of the way and follow his orders to get through this whole situation. The fallen city was now officially a demon stronghold, a place for them to regroup and plan their next attack. Walking through the city, Kai and Mare saw demon soldiers just chilling, laughing with their buddies. They'd even get wasted in the middle of the day, acting just like humans. Using abandoned houses for cover, Kai and Mare carefully noted the city's current situation. Mare actually found it pretty boring. She was expecting some action, but these demons were just living their everyday lives. Kai believed that any intelligent species capable of conversation would live just like humans, but Neutrat wasn't as peaceful as it first seemed. They soon saw the former human residents. These people were now slaves, forced to help the demons with their daily tasks and new homes. And let me tell you, the demons weren't kind bosses. They'd grab a stick and beat the human slaves just because they felt like it. This time, Mare was surprised by the cruelty. It was to be expected, though. Everyone knew demons tended to enslave humans, so this kind of harshness wasn't really a shocker. Mare knew this simple fact, but seeing it firsthand was still jarring. The simple beating of a slave quickly turned into a fun game for the bored soldiers. Mare couldn't just stand there and watch this craziness unfold. Just as Kai reached out to calm her, a new presence suddenly popped up in the room. He couldn't ignore it. A cute little voice asked if they weren't demons. A young girl with crimson eyes, a fancy outfit, and 2 dark horns stared curiously at the intruders. Kai totally freaked out. His instincts kicked in because he hadn't sensed this new person at all. He instantly pulled out a throwing knife, ready to react. But the young girl assured him there was no need to worry. She hadn't come here to fight. Kai wasn't convinced. He pressed the girl, demanding to know who she was and how she found them. He was right there, and it should have been impossible for anyone to sneak past his detection, especially this close. Kai figured she had to be using some kind of demonic art. She then admitted she'd been watching them since they broke through her detection barrier. Mare, however, was positive they'd snuck in perfectly clean. She hadn't even felt a trace of mana nearby. But that's because the witch who mastered space magic could see absolutely everything. Kai finally put it together. He used appraisal to confirm his suspicions. Her name was Isabel Veldora, protected by an evil god, a master of space magic, a master of all kinds of demonic arts, and an absolute monster in terms of power. Then, Isabel formally introduced herself as the 5th princess of the Veldora demonic kingdom. Kai took a step back, clearly intimidated. She then made it clear, if they didn't answer her questions, she'd just order her army to capture them. After all, a human and an elf had snuck into her territory, and they didn't exactly look like spies. She wanted some clarity on their objective. Kai was certain that fighting here would be way too risky, so a peaceful negotiation was their best bet. So he started talking, and warned the princess that his story would be a long one. Isabel got comfy and told Kai to spill his story. She was bored anyway. Kai spent hours explaining his journey so far. Finally, Isabel understood why he was so set on returning home. He'd learned from a sage that it might be possible using demonic space magic, which is why he came here to check. Isabel just casually confirmed that yes, it was totally possible to send Kai back home. This was a huge deal. He finally had a real clue after so long. He felt lucky that the Witch of Space was even willing to talk, especially since she didn't act like a typical demon. She didn't hate humans at all. Isabel then explained that for it to work, Kai would need the exact coordinates of his homeworld. The solution was right there, but finding Earth's coordinates, that was a whole new headache. Without the precise coordinates among countless worlds, sending Kai back was impossible. A heavy silence fell over them. Kai and Isabel just looked at each other, understanding the situation. Kai asked if there was any way to find his homeworld's coordinates. Isabel said there were just too many parallel worlds out there, making it impossible to find the right one. Kai used his new Eye of Truth ability and saw she wasn't lying. Isabel also mentioned a limit because of his mortal body. He came here with God's protection, which couldn't be bypassed. Even Isabel's powerful demonic arts couldn't get past his divine protection. God's will was basically trapping him in this world. This meant he couldn't go home until the mission to kill the Demon King was fulfilled. Isabel wasn't so sure about that, though. She admitted she hadn't thought that far ahead. Kai didn't get an easy answer, but at least he now knew there was another option if things got tough. Still, the easiest way was clearly to kill the Demon King and finish the prophecy. Kai didn't say it out loud, but Isabel could tell what he decided just by looking at him. He was open to using demonic arts to go home, but it sounded incredibly tough. Suddenly, Mir interrupted, asking why the demon princess was being so cooperative. Isabel just tore a hole in space. She simply explained that even the demonic kingdom has factions, and she was just doing what was best for herself. Kai and Mayer immediately got ready for a fight, expecting her to make a move. Isabel just gave them a blank stare, wished them good luck, and stepped into her spatial rift. She also warned them that escaping her city wouldn't be easy. Just like that, the rift closed, and Isabel Veldora vanished to who knows where. Mir, who had been holding her breath, finally let it out. Kai was thinking about how powerful the Demon King's bloodline must be. If they had fought, they would have been slaughtered with no chance. It was a good thing she wasn't hostile. After such a lucky escape, Kai worried that bad luck would follow. Just as Mir warned him to stop jinxing them, the city alarms suddenly blared. The duo peered out the window. Demon soldiers were going wild, hunting down human spies who had infiltrated the city. It was clear they had been exposed, and that mischievous witch was likely involved. First, the witch wished them luck. Then, she immediately told her army about them. Her actions were totally bizarre, just like her. Kai simply had to accept that he couldn't understand someone so powerful. They bolted across the roofs of abandoned buildings, trying to escape the huge, fallen city. Kai was super fast, and Mir kept right up with him. Together, they somehow dodged thousands of demons. The demons were on high alert, spread throughout the inner city. A quick appraisal showed each soldier had high stats, strong enough to cause serious problems. They needed to escape fast, but Kai suddenly froze. Mayer had to slam on the brakes, almost tumbling off the roof. Kai pulled her down, telling them to hide. They looked towards the city square. Kai felt a mana signature, like the witches, and knew he had to check it out before moving again. This strange mana felt even stronger in some ways. Then they saw him. A white-haired demon with porcelain skin and 3 horns stood right in the middle of his troops. He had 2 horns by his temples and a huge green one in the center. Mir instantly knew this beast. It was Wimberg. Kai definitely wasn't expecting such a powerful wild card to show up here. Kai looked at Mir. She was practically foaming at the mouth, burning with vengeance. So, following Kai really had been the right call. Without taking her eyes off him, she confirmed. The beast commanding the army was Wimberg, the heavenly king of the winds and one of the Demon King's vassals. From their hiding spot on the roof, Kai shot an appraisal to check him out. Wimberg had balanced stats. He was a master of wind demonic arts and swordsmanship, plus his hawk's eye boosted his combat power to another level. Kai tapped Mir's shoulder, telling her to calm down. Fighting him head-on would be totally insane. Luckily, Mir managed to control her vengeful rage. Since their enemy was the heavenly king of the winds, and wind magic is awesome for finding things, they had to be super careful. Down on the city grounds, Wimberg's troops were asking skeptically if there really were intruders. They had put together a whole hunting brigade just because of Wimberg's hunch, so they just kept pushing forward. If they found any intruders, crushing them would be totally normal. Humanity's trump card, the hero candidates, had been seen at the front lines. Neutrat City was under pressure to get things stable. One troop asked Wimberg why he was staying behind instead of fighting at the front. Wimberg simply replied that holding down the fort suited him better. Wimberg preferred to let other units handle the messy fighting. But then, the wind he'd spread out across the city brought back whispers, confirming that intruders were inside. For Wimberg, if the wind said it, it was a sure thing. These spies were moving carefully, but they couldn't hide from Wimberg's wind search. He controlled the wind, giving him a complete map hack of the city. Wimberg ordered his troops to get the pursuit unit ready. It was time for a hunt. Wimberg knew the witch could have found these intruders earlier. She must have let them through, and he found that pretty interesting. Meanwhile, Mayer and Kai were still running for their lives, using old residential areas for cover. As they reached a street corner, Kai told Mayer to stop. A demon search party was close by, checking every corner for intruders. The demons likely knew someone was around, but couldn't pinpoint their exact spot. Mayer had also sensed the winds acting weirdly for a bit, making the spirits restless. It had to be that annoying wind search, trying hard to find them. She could mess with the wind using her spells, but that would totally give away their location. They hadn't been spotted yet, so they needed to move smartly to avoid getting swarmed by demons. Demon soldiers patrolled the streets, their heads snapping around. The duo stuck to lower ground to avoid the strange wind, but it was only a matter of time until the army found them. But then, Mayer's fading stamina caused them to be found. Kai decided to use the city's buildings to their advantage, but for this plan, Mayer had to be the decoy. Without waiting for her to agree, Kai vaulted onto the rooftops, leaving Mayer alone on the streets. Mayer complained below, but Kai fired her up with the promise of revenge. He made her realize crying wouldn't help them now. Seeing them split, the demons focused on the elf girl. She looked like an easy target, but they also sent some soldiers to find the hard-to-catch Kai. Mayer finally stopped running and spun around to cast a spell. She called upon fire spirits, gaining the power of a salamander, which made the demons stop cold. Before they could even get what was happening, they were totally cooked. Of course, such a flashy spell brought in even more enemies. Mayer's spot was revealed, and demon battalions closed in fast. Kai used this chaos to jump behind the distracted battalion. From there, he started dishing out destruction, one slash at a time. The first demon fell, but the others in the battalion still didn't notice a thing. With swift, precise cuts, Kai turned demons into mincemeat on the street. The battalion captain finally heard the thudding sounds behind him and spun around. What he saw was his entire group butchered, lying in pools of blood. That split second of terror was an easy opening for a skilled assassin. The captain called Kai a coward, but Kai just wiped out the rest of the battalion with another bloody splatter. Meanwhile, Mayer was still fighting in the streets. She unleashed Undine, a powerful water spell, to overwhelm her enemies. This water magic was super effective in the crowded area, slowing down the demon army's push. But even as the raging water pushed them back, the demons kept trying to break through. Mayer knew she was just delaying the inevitable. She had no choice, though, as these demons just kept coming. The situation felt hopeless until she spotted some strange splashes happening in the back. One after another, demons at the back started falling to a hidden blade. This made Mayer's job easier, as she pushed back the now shrinking demon force with her water spell. Just one quick slash to the throat, and it was over. Who could be doing this? When one demon finally realized what was happening to his comrades, it was already too late. A throwing blade was already buried deep in his skull. He felt like he had just met the Shinigami, the god of death himself. Kai easily cut his way through the trapped army, his body now covered in their blood. Retrieving his blades, he gave Mayer props for being a good decoy and making his job way easier. Mayer was pleased by the compliment, but it didn't erase the fact that she almost died. The duo might have hidden their movements well, but Wimberg was definitely getting impatient. His army wanted to call for backup, but Wimberg didn't think it was needed. He believed sending more demons would just mean more losses for them. So, Heavenly King Wimberg decided to handle the situation himself. Mayer and Kai were almost at the exit when a powerful gust of mana-infused wind hit them out of nowhere. After a quick scan, homing wind missiles shot straight for the duo. Mayer stayed calm and summoned Sylph, the spirit of wind, to step in. Her spell completely stopped the wind missiles in their tracks. Kai got ready for an even tougher fight. The real big boss just showed up. Wimberg floated above, scanning the city and controlling the wind however he wanted. He admitted these intruders weren't just simple rats this time. Mayer glared at the man who ruined her life, full of pure hatred. This was her moment to finally get her revenge. She had to take it, and she had to be confident. Luckily for them, she'd been preparing for this fight for a whole decade. As Wimberg hovered in the air, surveying the battleground, the duo pulled out their weapons, ready to fight. Kai was sure they couldn't beat a heavenly king in a long fight. Not mortals like them. They needed to win fast and go all out right from the start. Mayer agreed, her focus sharp as she summoned Sylph the Wind Spirit once more. This time, the spell became Deadly Wind Blades, a potent wind spirit magic that locked onto Wimberg. The Heavenly King just stared at the incoming attack. actually insulted by how weak it seemed. Facing an opponent who dared to use wind against him, the Wind Heavenly King himself, was rare. Wimberg thought they were either really brave or just plain dumb. With a quick thought, he just canceled out the wind blades, easily overpowering them with his own powerful gusts. The blades couldn't even touch the wind barrier he had up, they just scattered into thin air. Kai saw an opening though. Wimberg had just blocked his own view, but turns out, taking advantage of that wasn't going to be so easy. As Kai tried to rush the supposedly blind Wimberg, he got slammed by sharp, solid wind missiles. That instantly brought Kai to a halt. From high above, Wimberg just laughed, calling Kai out for trying such a dumb move. See, Wimberg was a total pro. He constantly used wind surge, meaning he never lost track of anyone on the battlefield. So, even if Kai tried to sneak into a blind spot, Wimberg would totally spot him. This was the ultimate counter to Kai's amazing assassination moves. Good thing Kai wasn't alone in this fight. He had Mir there to help him out. Raising her scepter, Mir started getting another one of her spells ready. Wimberg was about to strike back when he saw what the elf girl was doing. His wind surge made him practically omnipresent by perfectly controlling wind flow. But if Mir messed with that flow, his wind surge would totally break down. Wimberg couldn't shake the feeling that this elf girl somehow knew all the weak spots in his fighting style. Kai figured it out. Mir had probably spent her whole life planning her revenge, which is why she knew exactly how to counter the Heavenly King. With the wind surge messed up, Kai instantly moved, trying to hide himself and get closer. Wimberg just thought it was super arrogant that this human was trying such basic tricks on him. Kai managed to reach him in the air, but Wimberg just flew even higher. He looked down at Kai, mocking him for even trying to reach him when Wimberg totally owned the skies. This just made things way harder. That flight ability was exactly like Narumi's. Kai's thoughts got cut off as Mir yelled at him to jump again. Trusting his teammate, he did it. This time, he got a huge boost of wind magic, making his jump super powerful and giving him the ability to fly. Wimberg totally freaked out. Kai used his foresight along with weak point detection, aiming for a perfect one-shot kill. Instantly, he saw 1 second into the future, Wimberg dodging sideways, and a weak spot popping up right in his throat. But just a split second later, the path to that weak point vanished. Kai had never seen anything like it. One moment he had the kill shot, and the next, it was completely gone. Wimberg wasn't just standing there. He completely switched up his fighting style as he pulled out his sword. It was a thin, straight blade, glowing green and pulsing with wind power. He was seriously annoyed that some random intruder had forced him to draw his weapon at all. So, Kai found himself stuck in the air with a demon lord who was clearly out to kill him. Then came a storm of sword strikes, and without his foresight, those slashes would have shredded him. Even with his powerful skill, the attacks were just too fast to handle. Turns out, Wimberg was actually Hector's sword instructor. Hector, the demon Kai took down back in the mountains. But while Wimberg was busy trying to overpower Kai, he completely forgot about Mir. That mistake almost cost him big time. A huge boulder came crashing down, aiming to kill him. Kai used that opening to pull back and figure out their next move. Even though the odds were stacked against them, the two were determined to take down one of the 4 heavenly demon kings today. That giant boulder? Even Wimberg's demonic wind darts probably couldn't have stopped it. Mir definitely had more tricks up her sleeve. Kai was starting to see just how much anger she was holding on to, and Wimberg noticed it too. Wimberg quickly figured out that these intruders must have been Hector's killers. Mir drove that point home by asking Wimberg how it felt to lose someone he cared about. The demon just laughed menacingly, then recognized Mir as the sole survivor from a village he had destroyed. Mir had spent a decade practicing her spells non-stop, all to get justice for that attack. Wimberg started taunting her, reminiscing about that day and describing it in gross detail. Mir never thought this monster would even remember what happened to her hometown, but the demon loved hearing the elves scream back then. He loved how they cared more about others than themselves, which meant he got to watch them beg for mercy. Their despairing faces were so beautiful to him, it practically thrilled him. Furious, the young elf snapped and lunged forward. She would have charged right in if Kai hadn't stopped her, telling her never to fall for such obvious traps. Kai told her he was counting on her spells, so she absolutely had to stay calm and focused during the fight. Mir snapped back to reality, remembering this was a team effort. Kai still needed more time to figure things out. But Kai was the kind of guy who'd do anything to win, so it was just a matter of time. Wimberg was a super powerful enemy, covering both close and long-range attacks that could hit hard. Wimberg also realized this duo was a difficult pair to deal with. Kai, the man, could even trade blows with him, despite being human. The only explanation Wimberg could think of was that this mystery guy had to be one of the hero candidates. Kai didn't deny it. Wimberg, the Heavenly King, always tracked the most powerful fighters from the enemy nation, but he had never even heard of Kai, which made Kai a total unknown. After thinking it over, Wimberg decided to play it safe. He planned to drag out the battle, letting his superior strength slowly crush his foe. Meanwhile, Kai's foresight skill was running out, with only 3 minutes remaining. If they couldn't finish the fight quickly, their odds of winning would practically hit rock bottom. That's when Mir suddenly spoke up, urging Kai to hear her plan. Kai stayed sharp, listening intently as Mir quickly whispered her strategy to him. He finally agreed to it, but not without a cheeky warning. "Don't drag me down," he told her, which was pretty ironic since it was her plan anyway. Wimberg simply watched them plot, amused and totally sure he had already won. But Kai suddenly got a fresh burst of energy, locking onto his target like a hungry predator. Wimberg just grinned, arrogantly welcoming Kai with open arms. The first step of their plan was simple: use wind magic to launch Kai into the air. While he got ready for the next clash, Mir would stay on the ground. She called on Norm, the earth spirit, to summon a bunch of boulders she could control. Mir then aimed her spell at the demon, sending the rocks flying straight into the air. Wimberg, a master of wind, effortlessly blew the incoming attack away. The simple boulders were sent soaring into the stratosphere, nowhere near hitting him. But that brief moment Wimberg focused elsewhere was all the opening Kai needed. Too bad the demon's reaction time was lightning fast. The first part might have flopped, but Mir wasn't giving up yet. She quickly took control of the blown-away boulders again. They circled back, ready to strike Wimberg from behind. Wimberg could easily dodge or just use a wind wall to block, so this shouldn't have been a problem. But Mir had already guessed he'd try to block with magic, so she called Sylph again, using her own wind power to mess up Wimberg's defense. The boulders then smashed right through the incomplete wind wall, heading straight for Wimberg. The magic attack itself wasn't designed to deal big damage. Its real goal was to create an opening in Wimberg's defenses. With his foresight and weak point detection, Kai instantly took advantage of the distraction. Wimberg barely managed to raise his sword to block the incoming blade, but Kai's incredible skill with swords was impossible to underestimate. In one smooth move, blood splattered across Neutrat City. Wimberg had miscalculated completely. Kai wasn't going for a fatal blow to his heart. Instead, Kai aimed for Wimberg's sword hand. With the perfect plan, Kai now had Wimberg's own blade. After snatching the dangerous weapon, Kai instantly pulled back, out of the demon's reach. Losing his sword stunned Wimberg, making him miss the attack coming from behind. Boulders slammed into him from all sides with massive force, but the powerful Heavenly King just stood there, completely fine, not even a scratch. The two of them might have broken his guard, but Wimberg was just too tough to take down. Mir was shocked. She thought their amazing combo attack would finally get her revenge. Kai, though, stayed totally focused on taking down his enemy fast. He remembered Mir's whispered advice: wind demonic arts are weak against earth. She could also mess with Wimberg's wind powers using her own. To beat a demon like Wimberg, they needed a solid plan they could actually pull off. But Kai tweaked the plan. Now, it was all about creating openings for him to strike, which he knew would work better. At least they had Wimberg's weapon. Mir was still confused, though. Wimberg was famous for his top-tier wind magic, so losing a close combat weapon shouldn't really bother him. Wimberg knew this too, and Kai didn't even look like a swordsman to begin with. Wimberg licked his wound and it healed up super fast. He then shot more wind missiles at Kai, forcing the assassin to use the stolen sword to block them. Kai used this moment to get back into range, swinging the glowing blade. To Wimberg's shock and annoyance, he suddenly couldn't keep up with Kai's attacks. Every swing of the blade pushed Wimberg back further and further. Wimberg wasn't just any swordsman, he was amazing. Being pushed around by a human like this was just crazy. Mir saw her chance and unleashed a wind spell, adding to the mayhem. A simple gust of wind hit Wimberg's legs, instantly knocking him off balance. As the demon fell, he watched Kai perfectly follow his path downwards. Wimberg looked into the young man's crimson eyes, seeing his own sword raised high above. Refusing to lose, Wimberg focused all his power into his middle horn. It grew hard, thick, and veiny. Wind power gathered at its tip, forming a deadly wind blade aimed right at Kai. But Wimberg was just a second too slow. With a small adjustment and perfect teamwork, the fight was already over. The heavenly demon's head flew off, landing next to his lifeless body. Kai, meanwhile, landed like a superhero nearby. The moment he touched down, Kai ran out of mana and lost his foresight. Wimberg was still barely alive. Even with his head detached, he never expected to lose like this. Before finally dying, he asked Kai how he could move so weirdly. Kai explained he could copy skills thanks to his copycat ability. He literally copied Wimberg's entire fighting style just by watching him. Kai knew nothing about swords, but he wasn't complaining about the new skill. Wimberg figured Kai must be blessed by the god of creation. This power alone made him humanity's trump card. Kai twisted the knife even more. He told Wimberg he got copycat after killing his disciple, Hector. With his final breath, Wimberg called his disciple an idiot for letting an enemy live and get stronger. Kai sat among the battlefield rubble, thinking about their next move. He now knew just how powerful one of the 4 heavenly kings truly was. There were 3 more demons just as strong, and the Demon King way more powerful. Plus, the king had his own bloodline, like Isabel, working for him. Kai admitted he stood no chance against the final boss right now, and let out a sigh. He looked up and saw Meyer approaching Wimberg's dead body, her face expressionless. She asked Kai if it was done, and he said yes. Kai then asked her, curious, how it felt to finally get her revenge after all these years of planning. Meyer confessed she felt nothing. She'd risked everything for this moment, yet felt no satisfaction. Only a small sense of relief, like a heavy weight lifted. Wimberg was gone, but her parents and the villagers would never return. She felt free from her past. Kai admitted he was glad Meyer was with him. Without her perfectly timed help, he never would have beaten Wimberg. Meyer felt the same way. She'd trained for 10 years for this fight, but couldn't have done it without Kai's power. She was truly thankful for him. Even though it was brutal revenge, he still helped her fulfill her life's goal. For Kai, their paths just happened to cross at the right moment. His help wasn't a big deal to him. Meyer was used to Kai's chill attitude, but she knew sticking with him was the right choice. If she'd stayed with the sage, she couldn't have controlled herself. She would have just rushed in and died for nothing. Her master probably knew that all along. With her mission done, Kai asked Meyer what she would do next. She hadn't really thought that far ahead, feeling a bit lost. Kai suggested she could take her time finding a new goal, since elves live for ages. Meyer corrected him. She was only half elf, so her lifespan wasn't that long. For now, she just wanted to stick with Kai. He asked if she was sure, reminding her his goal was to kill the Demon King. Meyer was totally on board with this plan too. She figured if the Demon King was gone, fewer people would have to go through what she did. Plus, she was ready to stick with Kai no matter what, even if he told her to get lost. This time, Kai didn't push her away. Instead, he just explained their next move. Find as many clues as possible before enemy reinforcements showed up. Meyer practically glowed with happiness, seeing that Kai was okay with her joining. So, the pair snuck out of Neutrat City, having just taken down one of the 4 heavenly demon kings. High above, a spatial rift popped open, and there stood the witch Isabel. With a bored look, the princess watched them disappear into the shadows. Isabel had to admit, Kai and Meyer did way better than she expected. She thought they might be useful if they just escaped, but they actually killed Wimberg. Her usually flat expression finally broke into a smile. With these two, her plans would be much smoother. After the Neutrat City fight, Kai and Meyer made for the wilderness, trying to avoid any demon patrols. They eventually made it back to Albana's home, high up in the tough mountains. The duo filled the sage in on everything. She was just relieved they both returned safely. However, killing a heavenly demon so quickly completely blew her mind. When Meyer started to speak up about it, the sage cut her off. Albana already knew what her student wanted to say. She could sense Meyer's desire to keep following Kai, so she gave her blessing. The sage wished her well, not just as a companion, but maybe even something more. Once that was sorted, Albana asked Kai if he'd heard about the front lines. Curious, he pressed the sage for details. Turns out, Kai's classmates, the hero candidates, got absolutely crushed. Hearing Meidu and the others lost, Kai wondered who they faced. Albana explained reports showed they went up against Stone Gaia, the Demon King Army's top executive and Heavenly King of Earth. Since he shared the same title as Wimberg, he had to be insanely strong too. Kai finally asked the big question. Were there any casualties? Luckily, everyone made it out alive. Still, after such a loss, their morale was at rock bottom. For now, Kai decided to just watch how things played out. With his new goal of killing the Demon King, he figured he could use his classmates to slowly chip away at the army's power. He might even be able to use the whole class to take on the remaining Heavenly Kings. Meyer then asked if the other hero candidates were as strong as Kai. Honestly, Kai wasn't sure. They had raw power, but if they couldn't use it properly, that strength didn't mean a thing. Let's check in on the hero candidates back at Fort Truss. They bunked down for the night, but the fort's medical ward was packed. Soldiers were everywhere, all hurt from the failed attack. Even the strong hero candidates ended up pretty banged up. Meidu had injuries all over, and Hano was busy healing him. He gave her a small smile, telling her not to push it too hard. Her healing skill wasn't endless after all. Hano knew it was risky to heal everyone, but it was the only way she felt useful. So Meidu just sat, letting the healing light mend his wounds. Just hours before, their attack on Stone Gaia completely fell apart. If Heinrich hadn't shown up, they would have been wiped out on the spot. Meidu saw how hurt everyone was, not just their bodies, but their minds too. Rina just stared at the ground, her eyes blank. Arashi hid his face, ashamed he couldn't do more. Meidu clenched his fist, fueled by pure frustration. He saw their defeat by Stone Gaia as his own fault. Meidu was convinced their loss came down to his bad leadership. If he had just beaten the Heavenly King alone, none of this mess would have happened. Over at Fort Arliss, the demons were still holding strong. The place looked impossible to breach. Up on a watchtower, the commander, Heavenly King of Earth, Stone Gaia, was just chilling, enjoying the breeze. Meanwhile, Kai was secretly spying on the fort from a distance, making sure not to get caught. Kai's eyes were seriously busted good. He could easily spot a still target from hundreds of feet away. Even Meir, who grew up with magic, was amazed by his incredible sight. Kai couldn't help it though. Every time his appraisal skill leveled up, it just kept gaining new powers. The elf girl was even starting to get suspicious about how convenient his skills seemed. Safe back at their base camp, Kai managed to peek at Stone Gaia's wild stats. The Heavenly King was a total beast in demonic earth arts, a defensive tank who also knew a thing or two about swords. Kai then fired up his upgraded appraisal, and bam! He got a super detailed breakdown of the enemy's powers. At level 4, his appraisal went way deeper, showing him all of Stone Gaia's skills, which was a huge bonus. But the main thing he wanted to try was weak point detection. He aimed it at the super tough heavenly demon, but nothing popped up. That just meant Kai wasn't strong enough yet to find any openings from that far away. Man, if every enemy had a weak point, things would be so much simpler. All in all, Kai had a super detailed scouting report on Stone Gaia, right down to the demon's specific skills. And with Mir's magic know-how, she could summon water spirits. That's key, because Earth attribute users are naturally weak against water, just like in Pokemon battles. But remember, type advantage isn't everything. Every fight also depends on how skilled the user is. Stone Gaia might know tons of Earth demonic arts, but they probably only mastered a couple of them. Knowing Stone Gaia's specialty would let Mir exploit a weak spot. Since they were already in the area, checking out another heavenly demon's lair seemed like a smart move. Back at Fort Truss, the hero candidates were still reeling from their heavy loss. Midu was hit the hardest by it all. He couldn't help but wonder if Kai could have turned things around. But Midu refused to rely on anyone other than himself. For him, relying on others meant running away from the hard work. Just as he was about to shout his resolve into the air, his classmates arrived. They knew exactly how hard Midu could be on himself. Rina, especially, knew their class rep always tried to carry every burden alone. Narumi quickly added that Midu should wipe that depressed look off his face, reminding him they hadn't hit the game over screen yet. One by one, his classmates assured him this wasn't a battle he had to fight alone. He asked them if they still trusted him to lead the group, but that was a silly question. They all agreed they couldn't ask for a better leader. Narumi then voiced what everyone was thinking. Midu really needed to try relying on others more. Seeing and hearing how his friends responded to their loss, Midu finally smiled after a long time. Narumi also made sure to say that everyone had gotten a lot stronger, so Midu could finally take a break from hard carrying the whole group. Just as the class finished their deep discussion, their reunion became complete when another group arrived. Arashi and his injured crew had gotten out of their beds just to show their resolve. The delinquent boss instantly slammed Midu for having such a pathetic look. They should be planning a second round against that stone bastard, he declared. Everyone was totally surprised that Arashi actually came to meet with the whole class. He clicked his tongue, clearly annoyed that they couldn't finish the job in one go. So now, he was ready to listen to Midu's orders to make sure they got the win against Stone Gaia. The other classmates were just thrilled to see Arashi finally unite with the rest of them. With a newfound fire burning in his heart, Midu declared they would go for another round against the demon who had totally trashed them. Arashi definitely liked this more determined version of Midu. While everyone else was happily laughing and hyped up together, Kenzaki stayed quiet, watching from afar. Even though she was glad her classmates had finally united, she still worried because they had no real plan to defeat Stone Gaia. Her worries instantly vanished the moment she heard Kai's voice calling her name. She looked around and saw Kai hanging out by the stairs. He warned her not to make any loud noise, saying he didn't want to be noticed. Kenzaki quickly obeyed, covering her mouth to stop herself from making excited sounds. Kai had come to confirm everything that went down in the battle against the Heavenly King of Earth. He pressed Kenzaki for all the details about the demonic art Stone Gaia had used. After Kenzaki gave him a super detailed report, Kai finally understood Stone Gaia's fighting style, especially how he controlled golems. Kai was certain the demon's fighting style relied heavily on that specific type of demonic art, just as Mayer had predicted. However, when Kai mentioned another woman's name, Kanzaki felt her blood pressure instantly spike. Kai refused to elaborate further, simply thanking her for the information. Kanzaki nervously asked if he would be helping the class this time. Kai considered it, but seeing everyone's resolve, he didn't want to mess with their growing team chemistry. So Kai decided to stick to his usual plan, working in the shadows and handling the tough stuff behind the scenes. A few days after the human attack, Fort Arliss enjoyed a brief period of peace. Meanwhile, on the outskirts, the summoned hero candidates secretly gathered, preparing for a second assault. They also welcomed back Yumi, a classmate who had quit after all the traumatic events. Yumi used to be part of Rina's group, and Rina was overjoyed to have her return. With that, Kinoshita Yumi officially joined the upcoming Fort Arliss expedition. Some classmates asked her why she suddenly decided to rejoin the combatant party after leaving. Yumi explained that she heard everyone was having trouble and wanted to do something for the class. They jokingly called her a hero for her answer. But deep down, Yumi actually had second thoughts about this whole thing. Just 5 days earlier, she had been working non-stop as a waitress at a local inn, completely exhausted every single day since starting the job. Then, she walked into her room. Kai was just standing there, greeting her as if showing up unannounced in someone's private space was totally normal. Maybe it was the fatigue, but Kinoshita politely greeted him back at first. Then it hit her. There was an edgy teen in her room. That's when Kinoshita finally panicked. It took her some time, but Yumi eventually calmed down. She asked Kai why he was there. Kai explained how much Midu and the rest of the class were struggling on the front lines. He told her they desperately needed Kinoshita's skill, the divine protection of water manipulation, to overcome their current situation. That was also why he had snuck into her room. Even though Kinoshita had quit the combatant party, Kai saw something in her. He saw the qualities needed to return as a proper fighter, believing she secretly wanted to rejoin her friends. Leonora was the one who had scared her off, but that was no longer an issue. Kai's bullets had taken care of that witch. With Leonora gone, Kinoshita had no reason to hold back anymore. Time had also healed the wounds in her heart. Turns out, Kinoshita was also a terrible waitress, constantly breaking plates. The truth was, she had been itching to help Nagase and the others. She looked into Kai's eyes and knew there was no point in denying it. She was pretty surprised that a classmate was paying this much attention to her. Kai quickly set things straight, saying he was just looking for a usable pawn. Kinoshita chose to ignore that last part. Instead, she asked how he could possibly join the combatant party, since he was technically a wanted criminal. Kai couldn't officially join the Holy Kingdom's army with his criminal record, but being the group's shadow didn't need a clean slate. Just like that, Kai had another piece ready on his board. Kinoshita was hyped, ready to prove her power could make a difference. Kanzaki, still her usual quiet self, listened in on everything. She'd already heard Kai's full game plan earlier, but Kanzaki felt a bit shaky, wondering if Kinoshita's water power would really be enough to break through the enemy's defenses. Kai wasn't actually fighting, so it was up to the class to come up with their own plan. His only advice? Adapt to whatever happens. Before he left, Kai also sent a message to Midu. He challenged Midu to show him how much everyone had grown while he was away. Back on the edge of Fort Arliss, Midu approached Kanzaki to confirm their game plan one last time. They really couldn't afford to get beaten again. So, the group carefully talked through their ideas, refining their strategy. From a distance, Mir and Kai watched and listened. She wondered if these kids could pull it off, knowing Kai had an even better plan in his head. He was just taking a back seat today because people don't grow if they're always told what to do. With the Demon King as the final goal, his classmates needed to step up big time. They had the power, but they were terrible at using their gifts. For this war, Kai would only give minimal help, throwing out hints now and then. Still, what matters in battle is making your own decisions. Meanwhile, the demon soldiers of Fort Arliss were already set up, manning their defenses. Thousands of human soldiers, flying the flag of the Holy Kingdom, stood at the front gate. Captain Amelia took charge as the commander for this second attack. At her command, the kingdom's soldiers bravely pushed into the demon-held base. The demons on the front lines just laughed, thinking these humans hadn't learned anything from their last defeat. Amelia rallied her troops to clear a path for the hero candidates so they could do their job right. As for the demons, their orders were simple: kill all invaders. The war quickly turned into total chaos, but the hero candidates steadily pushed forward in the middle of it. Midu could sense their ultimate enemy in the fort's tower. The Heavenly King, Stone Gaia, wasn't one to hide during an attack, but he loved to flash his golden grills, taunting enemies from afar. Midu could practically feel the demon inviting them into his territory again, and he didn't want to be disappointed twice. After fighting through countless demon foot soldiers, the hero candidates finally reached the gate and blew it up right away. Arashi's explosion skill was super useful for locked doors like this one. Inside, the party found the golems Stone Gaia had made earlier. Midu declared their plan officially started, with a new sense of importance. Hidden from everyone below, two figures watched the fight from a crack in the ceiling. It was Kai and Mare, keeping an eye on things. Kai was ready to see how far these kids had come since he left. The hero candidates quickly got into formation, with Midu and Arashi leading the charge. In front of them stood tough stone golems. Midu raised his shining blade, officially kicking off their second try at the Stone Gaia raid. Rina worried this fight might be too much for Yumi, who had just rejoined the combat team. Yumi looked tense, but she pushed through. Mid-rush, she used her divine power, sending tons of water onto the field. With all that water, the golems were in trouble. Stone Gaia watched as a huge wave swept over his army. The battlefield was now in their favor, and Arashi plunged into the action, fists first. Arashi's punches literally exploded, perfect for those big, unmoving enemies. Midu's sword wasn't ideal, but he made up for it. His raw strength, technique, and talent were undeniable. All the other hero candidates also pulled their weight. They had clearly sharpened their blessings quite a bit. They might look like side characters, but these extras knew how to take down golems. That's all that really mattered in this fight. After that first clash, every single golem was dunked into the shallow pool on the ground. Stone Gaia instantly pumped energy into his army, trying to make them rebuild, but the golem's wet parts made reconstruction impossible. This meant the hero candidate's plan was totally working. Stone Gaia didn't stress about it much, though. He was just annoyed that these humans had brought a water user into the mix. So, he grabbed his weapons and called in his remaining cannon fodder puppets. Up on the ceiling, Mare and Kai were watching closely. Mare was actually the one who came up with this whole plan. Mare had figured out that the rock joints were weak to water damage, making the golems harder to control. Seeing things turn their way, Midu yelled for his classmates to hit even harder. They had the momentum now. Yumi was feeling super confident and launched the next round of attacks first. Yumi summoned a massive wave that washed the remaining golems away. Narumi and the others quickly moved into their effective range. Up close, the golems were huge, towering over them, but the team didn't care. They knew the winning formula now. Stone Gaia actually smiled. He praised their plan to clear out his minions first, and whoever came up with such a smart strategy. He then touched the ground, and multiple magic circles popped up around him. The Heavenly King unleashed sharp boulders from those circles. He saw his golems as just disposable minions to weed out weaker enemies. Now, Stone Gaia was ready to show them the real power of the earth. He sent the boulders flying at the hero candidates, who froze in shock. Luckily, some of them could fight back. Hashimoto quickly used her telekinetic powers, stopping the boulders from wiping out their team. Stone Gaia clearly didn't expect his control over the boulders to be overridden. Then Kanzaki stepped in, using her domination skill to stop the Heavenly Demon King from making another move. A restraint ability like that was a total game changer. With Stone Gaia held still, Arashi charged in, ready to hit him with an explosive attack, but a hastily built mud wall blocked him. The mud absorbed his explosion, stopping it from reaching its target. After the explosion cleared, it was just Arashi and Stone Gaia facing off. Stone Gaia flashed a smug smile, bragging that this much power wouldn't be enough to break his defense. Right then, Midu used his instant movement. He instantly appeared at Stone Gaia's side, setting up a lethal sneak attack. His sword gleamed, lighting up the whole room. Stone Gaia quickly drew his own blade and easily blocked the attack, even while still under Kanzaki's domination. Hashimoto decided to jump back in, sending those telekinetically charged boulders right back at Stone Gaia. Narumi also took his chance, adding his wind manipulation to the attack. He created multiple wind lances, a huge upgrade from the single one he used before. Stone Gaia was now dealing with another explosion threat from the front, a skilled swordsman on his flank, and projectiles flying in from everywhere. Yet he was still super confident he would win. He then summoned a huge stone wall to push back the close-range fighters, making a big gap. Yumi refused to let this opportunity slip away, not when they were so close. So she unleashed another water attack. This water attack packed enough pressure and energy to shatter the stone wall completely. Stone Gaia's impenetrable defense turned into nothing but a wet mess on the ground. It turned out his material loses its hardness when wet. Mine, however, works completely differently. With a clear shot at Stone Gaia, Midu got ready for another round of attacks. Having Arashi by his side made this a sure way to deal maximum damage. The combined force of explosions and blades slammed into Stone Gaia, almost sending him to the Shadow Realm right there. But the old demon was famous for his defense for a reason. Even with coordinated attacks hitting him from every angle, he was sure he could endure. Gaia's defenses were totally breaking down. He had no choice but to go all out. So the Heavenly King decided to dump all his massive defensive power into one huge attack. As Gaia's power made the ground shake, the hero candidates almost fell. But at that exact moment, Kai's sharp eyes spotted a major weak point. He threw a knife straight at the demon's forehead, piercing through its skull. And just like that, another heavenly demon was gone. Talk about a classic kill steal. Stone Gaia fought to stay alive, but he couldn't. His huge body crashed down right in front of the stunned hero candidates. Seeing the giant boss finally fall, the whole class went wild with celebration. They cheered loudly for Midu and Arashi, thinking these two heavy hitters had secured their victory. But both guys knew better. This wasn't their doing. They both realized someone else had jumped in at the last second. Arashi checked the demon's body and found a throwing knife covered in blood. He picked it up and immediately knew who was responsible. Arashi knew what had happened, and it seriously annoyed him. Midu looked up and found the source of the knife, a small crack in the ceiling. He was now certain Kai made the final move. Arashi still couldn't stand that sneaky dude. Then Narumi came over to the supposed MVPs, flashing a big, toothy grin. Midu gave an awkward smile and agreed they'd won, but he knew he wasn't the true hero here. Their original plan, relying on Yumi's water spells, was supposed to work perfectly. Being so close to Stone Gaia at the very end, Midu felt the demon unleash an insane amount of mana. He realized their method was like child's play against that power. That's why Kai had to step in during such a critical moment. Hashimoto noticed Midu's glum face, even after their victory. She told him to join the others in celebrating. Midu wanted to tell her everything, but she didn't give him a chance. What truly mattered was that one of the 4 heavenly kings had fallen. No matter what, that was a huge achievement worth celebrating. Midu was swept into the cheering crowd of his classmates. He saw their happy faces and triumphant grins, and it made him appreciate the win. A dub is a dub, no matter how you get it. But the proud Arashi just couldn't smile and celebrate, knowing he didn't earn the credit. His group, totally clueless, just kept cheering for their boy. Arashi quickly told his friends to be quiet. He made it clear that he wasn't the one who defeated the Demon King. One of Arashi's buddies, who was close to the action, actually saw what happened, but he just thought it was a stolen last hit. Still, the entire team worked together to corner the Heavenly King. Midu grabbed Stone Gaia's head and climbed to the watchtower. He held it up for everyone, shouting that they had taken down the Heavenly King of Earth. He then commanded the demons to surrender in the name of their fallen commander's blood. The demons were instantly shocked, dropping their weapons the moment they saw their master's severed head. Captain Amelia seized the chance, letting out a victorious cry. This boosted the morale of every human fighter on the field. Heinrich looked pretty beat up, but he was just happy the hero candidates pulled off the win. Soon after, humans quickly took back control of Fort Arliss, a super important spot. Meanwhile, Kai and Mir were still doing their sneaky thing. Mir wondered how the humans won since both armies seemed to have about the same number of fighters. Kai explained that the Demon King's army relies heavily on its charismatic leaders. When a leader falls, their organized resistance just collapses. He pointed out this was exactly what happened when they defeated Vimberg before. After Wimberg fell, not a single demon even chased them. Kai saw this dependence as a big weakness for the Demon King's forces. Mir then asked if Kai should have even landed the final blow, since his whole plan was to train and support his classmates from the sidelines. Honestly, Kai didn't have a choice. Stone Gaia's transformation unleashed an insane killing intent. If Kai hadn't stepped in, the entire class would have been wiped out. Plus, he was just doing his job as an assassin after all. He just hoped Meidu and the others would get it. He might not show it, but he actually sounded super protective of his friends. Quickly changing the subject, Kai told Mir to just call him by his name. Mir was totally caught off guard. The elf girl blushed hard and stumbled over her words. After taking a moment to calm down, she quietly asked if she could really call him Kai. He said that level of familiarity was totally fine with him. Kai turned to see just how much Mir was blushing. She tried her best to play it cool, but it didn't work at all. With this, Kai had now taken down 2 of the 4 heavenly kings. That's half of the Demon King's top generals gone. But don't forget, the Demon King also has descendants, and they're at least as strong as Isabel. So, the journey to finally defeat the Demon King is still going to be super long. Now, let's jump to a different place, where a beast-eared maiden is being hunted by some sketchy characters. She was pretty beaten up, covered in scratches and wounds. but her feisty spirit was still shining through. The demons chasing her admired her courage, but her body was clearly hitting its limits. Meanwhile, a young demon shared some big news with his subordinate. He finally caught the princess. With her capture, the Beastmen Federation was totally done for. Fast forward a week after they took down the Heavenly King of Earth. Fort Arliss was now a human stronghold, and the whole kingdom was buzzing with good vibes. The army's win brought everyone's spirits up. Knights were hyped, and the hero candidates became super famous, seen as humanity's biggest hope. The king personally thanked Medu, the class leader, for his awesome work at Fort Arliss. Medu got a big reward. He was made a lord and an official knight, but as soon as he escaped the stuffy throne room, he just wanted to chill and grab some tea with his friends. Hashimoto found it pretty funny that their super brave leader was so nervous. Emilia teased him a bit too. Heinrich, though, totally got it. Medu wasn't exactly an expert in noble manners. Good thing they gave him a quick etiquette lesson before the title ceremony. It made his meeting with the king go as smoothly as possible. Medu just didn't want to disrespect the king or make things worse for his whole class. But Heinrich thought Medu was getting way too involved in kingdom business. Now as an official knight, he'd have responsibilities, like it or not. Heinrich knew everything about noble society, so he was the perfect coach. Everyone knew the church actually held the real power in the kingdom. In fact, Medu's new knighthood was even ordered by the Pope himself. So, about that knighthood, Medu was now officially the captain of the 11th Knight Corps. This squad would be called the Heroes Corps, packed with hero candidates, basically the strongest raid force in the entire kingdom. Medu wondered if his new title actually meant anything, or if he was just becoming another puppet for the church. Heinrich said that explaining all the complicated stuff about state power and authority would take forever. But either way, Medu was now on the same level as other captains, and that came with some serious duties. Out on the edge of the fort, Meyer and Kai linked up with Kenzaki for an update on the local gangs. Kenzaki added that Medu was actually the one who pushed for a position of authority. Meyer just figured it was a well-earned promotion, nothing more. But really, the kingdom just wanted to turn Medu into a symbol for everyone. This also showed people that the kingdom totally controlled the hero candidates. Bottom line, this wasn't good news at all. Luckily, Kai stayed super focused on his main goal, getting back home. He couldn't shake the feeling that the kingdom and Leonora were actually pretty similar. Both saw hero candidates as just disposable pawns. Before they split, Kenzaki finally managed to ask who the elf girl was. Kai casually introduced Meyer. Kenzaki took one look and instantly felt her best girl title was in serious danger. Meyer quickly cleared things up, saying she and Kai were just travel buddies. But when someone asked Kenzaki the same thing, she totally fumbled her words. She tried to say she was Kai's friend, but Kai, ever so blunt, immediately shut that down. He said friend wasn't right, collaborator fit much better. Kenzaki actually liked that title a bit more. Back in their old world, they hadn't even really talked. Anyway, Kai knew the hero candidates were after the Demon King, so he planned to work in the shadows just like he did with Stone Gaia. Kenzaki's new job was being the messenger between him and the others. Before Kai left for his next spot, Kenzaki begged him to let her join. Kai checked her out, then quickly said no to her request. But secretly, he knew he needed her to keep tabs on everyone else. A lot of candidates didn't like his plans, so Kenzaki's reliability was super important. Kenzaki, putting on her best tsundere act, just accepted her role. She was also the only one who knew the class leader actually respected Kai a lot. Kai just hoped Medu would make the right moves on his own. Medu's growth was seriously key to beating the Demon King. But Kai actually had a whole plan behind all this crazy stuff. He knew for sure that fighting the Demon King's army wouldn't be a one-man show. Yeah, he and Meyer took down Wimberg by themselves, but honestly, that win was way too close. Kenzaki totally freaked when Kai just casually mentioned killing another Heavenly Demon King. Meyer's super cheerful explanation of how they took down the Heavenly King of the Wind didn't make Kenzaki feel any better. The other hero candidates barely managed to match Stone Gaia, but Kai did it with just 2 people. Kenzaki could also sense something really special about Meyer. She couldn't help but compare herself to the elf. Kenzaki knew her own contribution against Stone Gaia wasn't a huge deal. Kai also spilled that there were way stronger enemies than even the 4 Heavenly Kings. Right now, facing those super strong guys would be impossible. Kenzaki's job was to watch their classmates and the kingdom closely. Kai promised to keep in touch. She got her new role, and she really wanted to do it for Kai. Before he left, Kai told Medu his plan to defeat the Demon King his own way. Meyer ran off with him, cheerfully waving goodbye to Kenzaki. That talk really sparked something inside Kenzaki. She couldn't just be a background character, she had to get stronger. Right after Stone Gaia's defeat, the Holy Kingdom's army launched a massive invasion into demonic lands. The new heroes' corps boosted the army's morale big time. They pushed with all their might, taking over territory after territory. This allowed the Holy Kingdom to conquer many forts near Urugano Mountain, finally liberating Neutrat City. This conquest happened because 2 heavenly demon kings died so quickly. Without Wimberg, the demon king's logistics guy, their army was bound to fall apart. What the Holy Kingdom didn't realize was that Aragi Kai was behind a lot of this. With the campaign over, the hero candidates returned to the kingdom for a huge celebration. Narumi partied hard, drinking all he wanted. The victory banquet thrown for them was a total blast. Here, 15-year-olds are considered adults and can drink. Hashimoto lectured Narumi about underage drinking, then snagged the booze for herself. Midu chuckled, but he wasn't having as much fun as everyone else. Midu was still in his night gear, showing he wasn't relaxed. Rina picked up on his stress and told him to chill out. Even though they'd won, some sharp eyes noticed the demon army's command structure was totally broken. Midu still had his doubts. The victory felt way too easy. He even wondered if it was a trap. Rina jumped in, telling him he was too cautious and that the Demon King's army was just a bunch of idiots. But Midu knew better. They only won because Kai helped from the shadows. Rina just wouldn't believe that the edgy Kai could do something so huge. This made Kenzaki upset, so she jumped in to defend him. She explained that while they fought on the front lines, Kai was busy tearing apart the enemy's back lines. Kenzaki added that their victory was only possible because Kai killed another Heavenly King in the area, wrecking the enemy's defenses. Some people were still unsure, but Midu knew she was telling the truth. Narumi felt weird knowing they had such a powerful ally hidden in the shadows. Rina was the most skeptical, totally refusing to believe Kai could beat someone so strong. Arashi got dragged into the talk, mostly annoyed these kids interrupted his chicken feast. Remembering the blade that finished off Stone Agaya, he just kept eating his food and wouldn't talk about Kai. Hashimoto argued that even if Kai's actions were true, they still couldn't forgive him. Midu slowly left the pointless conversation and asked Kenzaki for Kai's location. She didn't know exactly where he was, but she knew he was figuring out his own way to kill the Demon King. Speaking of Demon Kings, let's check out the western territory of Neutrat City, right in the heart of the demonic kingdom. Deep in a thick forest, Kai found himself surrounded by orcs. He calmly waited for the brutes to make the first move, and they did. Dodging attacks from these aggressive, brainless creatures was super easy for our guy. When another orc tried to jump in, it got a nasty shot of sand right to the eyes. The brute definitely didn't expect a dirty trick like that, taking the full blast of sand. Kai tried to hit them with a thundershock spell, hoping to do some damage, but he just wasn't skilled enough yet to make it fully work. The spell fizzled, leaving him wide open for a huge club swing aimed right at his head. Things could have gone really bad if someone else hadn't stepped in. Suddenly, a wave of fire wiped out the whole orc group in an instant. Even so, Kai scolded Mare for overdoing it. She shot back, saying she wouldn't have helped if his thundershock hadn't failed. Kai couldn't believe magic was so tough, especially after how much his mana control had improved. Turns out Kai's natural element was thunder, which is super rare. It's fast and strong, but also incredibly hard to control because it's so wild. Honestly, him being able to even form these spells was statistically impossible. If he just had one of those elemental divine protections, he'd be unstoppable by now. Still, he needed to keep practicing how to use thunder in his fights. Maybe he messed up the spell earlier because the orc in front of him distracted him. When you cast magic, you need a super clear picture of the power you're using. That's also why magic usually isn't for close combat. It's too hard to focus. But Kai? He was different. He needed to figure out how to use magic even when he was up close, with daggers and in melee range. Kai knew he'd need totally new and wild powers to beat the Demon King. That's why he was so glad Mare was there to guide him, with all her knowledge as the sage's disciple. While Mare was busy acting all cute and shy, Kai suddenly sensed something unwelcome close by. Just like that, a whole new group of orcs surrounded him and Mare from everywhere. But for Kai, this was actually a good thing. With the whole orc tribe showing up, Kai would have tons of targets to practice on. Moments later, the crowd got even bigger. It wasn't just orcs this time. All sorts of beasts and demons came out to join the fight. Ugly monsters poured in from everywhere, each one worse than the last. Kai didn't care how many there were. All he wanted was to get some thundershock practice in. This time his spell actually worked, and he sent thunder right into his enemies. But besides the initial zap and crackle, it didn't do any real damage. Yeah, it singed a little skin, but it wasn't strong enough to be a killing blow. At least he used it in a real fight, even if it packed zero punch. An orc tried to sneak attack him from the side, but Kai easily dodged out of the way. He quickly got up into one of the trees, putting on a show of speed and accuracy the monsters had never seen. While they were stunned by his amazing moves from above, the monsters completely missed the rain of blades. Each blade found a vital spot, taking down the orcs in a single, messy hit. Kai's daggers were his go-to weapon. They were mana-infused, and he threw them with incredible aim and force. Magic? That still needed some serious work. As he was deep in thought, a huge white ape tried to ambush him from above. Big mistake. Soon, its blood was splattering everywhere. That ape was an easy kill, just a quick decapitation. Kai held onto a tree branch, still thinking. He noticed more trouble. Flying monsters were now joining the fight. To deal with them, he dropped back to the ground. He waited for his moment. Then, with sharp focus and deadly strikes, he took down all the flying monsters. After that, Kai jumped back into the trees, using them to create some distance from the beasts. But then, one smart monster used its brute strength to knock down a tree. The sheer number of enemies was insane. It was tough to keep track of everything. Even so, Kai stayed totally calm. Deep in the monster crowd, one creature really stood out. It was a boss monster. Finally, Kai had a perfect test subject to try out some new moves. Kai gripped his twin daggers, his amazing eyes already mapping out his next steps. Nearby, Mir was just blasting away, non-stop. She kept throwing destruction spells at the endless waves of monsters. With her power, she seemed fine, as long as her mana held up. Mir really wanted to break free from this trap. They would just get worn out if they stayed. Luckily, Kai totally agreed with her. They started to retreat, but not before Kai left his mark, painting the ground red with monster blood. The duo ran, going as fast and steady as possible. Not only were there tons of monsters, but their levels were also super high. This is what happens when you dive deep into demon territory. Demons can control low-level monsters, so this land is perfect for them and them alone. The pair kept running until they hit a dead end, a cliff. From that cliff, they saw the demonic kingdom spread out under the night sky. It was a wild, unsettling view, with strange colored monsters everywhere. About a week after that scout mission, things really kicked off back in their kingdom. Using their previous success, they launched another campaign to grab even more demonic land. They were feeling pretty good after their last win, but this time, they were in for a huge shock. As they moved through the woods, their biggest problem wasn't demons, it was monsters. The monsters here were on a whole different level, both in number and strength. They'd never seen anything like it. While the hero candidates and knights were getting stronger fast and could handle themselves, countless regular soldiers became easy targets. Amelia did her best to protect her forces with clever formations, but they were simply overwhelmed. Heinrich was the first to admit it. They were totally outmatched by the demons, even though the demons hadn't even shown their faces yet. This made them think a powerful demon was nearby, pulling the strings and controlling all the monsters. Medu had actually guessed right. A high-ranking demon was indeed behind this whole massacre. Her name was Elsa, and she was dead set on breaking humanity's military power. She didn't care how many monsters died. Her plan was simple. Once the human army was completely worn out, the real demon attack would begin. And that moment arrived. The Demon King's main army stepped forward, and Medu instantly told the commander they needed to retreat. Commander Amelia quickly realized they had been completely outsmarted and outgunned. Their only hope now was a successful retreat. But this escape came at a high price, with many soldiers dying at the rear. Even the demons were surprised. They hadn't expected the humans to be so weak. The demons had been careful, but it only took this much to send the humans running away. The demon soldiers gave all the credit for this win to their clever boss, Elsa. This huge victory meant humanity would surely think twice before trying another invasion. They'd be too afraid of the demons' true power. Plus, the demons had just taken over the Beastmen Federation. This meant they could now fully focus on the war against humans. The demon soldiers were totally sure they would win this war. Meanwhile, Mare and Kai watched the whole battle silently from a safe distance. Mare and Kai had gathered information about the Beastmen, and it was definitely alarming. Kai, being the information fiend he was, wanted to dig even deeper and learn more about it. Back on the human side, the Holy Kingdom's army sadly pulled back to the closest human settlement. Medics there worked non-stop to treat all the injured soldiers. Meanwhile, the army leaders gathered to figure out what went wrong. They had successfully taken back all the human lands at the border, but the second they tried to enter demon territory, they were utterly crushed. Given how bad things were, they were desperate for any good ideas. The biggest problem was how to fight against the endless waves of monsters in the area. If they couldn't find a way to stop them, trying to push into enemy territory was just a dream. They were shocked that demons were using such advanced skills and tactics. Before this, the Demon King's army had fought without any real strategies. But now, it looked like they were taking humanity seriously. Medu believed they were up against a smart enemy, a high-ranking demon who was creating and leading all these monster attacks. Scouting reports suggested they could probably get by if they just went through the forest of monsters. But that was much harder than it sounded. The forest was huge, and there were only a few paths through it. Moving an entire army through there seemed almost impossible. A few knights suggested they should regroup for now and plan their next move. Even though they had successfully freed many territories, their recent expedition caused too many losses. They knew they only had themselves to blame for pushing too far after taking back the lost lands. Before, high morale was their only real advantage, but now that was completely gone. Hashimoto then spoke up, reminding everyone that their main target was still the Demon King. But if taking down the Demon King was easy, they wouldn't be in this mess. When asked for ideas, Hashimoto suggested making their army even bigger. The problem? That would just slow them down and lead to even more losses. Gathering more soldiers wouldn't help. It would just mean more people getting hurt. So, Midu had a different idea. Instead of more numbers, they should train special elite forces. Amelia quickly agreed. After all, the current expedition already had the very best fighters. Training these elites would boost their survival chances big time. It would take a while, sure, but it was the most realistic path forward. The knights were all for it, but Midu felt a weird sense of unease about this plan. The thing was, the kingdom's goals and the hero candidate's goals were totally different. Midu and his crew just wanted to defeat the Demon King and go home. But the Holy Kingdom was more focused on fixing its own issues. That's why the top knights were okay with just keeping things as they were, scared to stir things up. Heinrich noticed Midu's worry and told him to speak up. From their talk, it sounded like taking down the Demon King would take years, and they simply couldn't wait that long. Amelia's own estimate said they'd need 2 years just to get their strength back. Sure, everyone wanted to defeat the Demon King ASAP, but they just didn't have the power to do it right now. The knights were pretty happy with just getting back the lands humanity had lost. Midu understood their point and knew the majority had already made up their minds. Still, he was worried about his classmates. He knew many of them were just itching to go back home. After the meeting wrapped up, Midu, Hashimoto, and Heinrich left. Heinrich, the noble captain, saw how upset Midu was, but he pointed out that Amelia's decisions were all about what was best for the kingdom. To change things, they needed more influence, something they just didn't have yet. Heinrich also cautioned Midu not to rush into anything. Though he said it bluntly, Heinrich was really just looking out for them. The captain asked Midu straight up if he wanted to see his friends die. He explained that being impatient would only lead to disaster. Plus, while the hero candidates were strong, they still had a lot of room to improve. It made more sense for everyone to train up and sharpen their skills for one final, huge push. Everyone wanted to get back to their own world, that was for sure. But getting wiped out by demons was way worse than just training for a couple more years. Midu knew this all too well. If Heinrich hadn't saved them during their first fight with Stone Gaia, they'd all be gone by now. And don't forget, the demon world eats the weak, creating beings even tougher than the 4 heavenly kings. The kingdom was really counting on these hero candidates to grow stronger. After finally seeing the bigger picture, Midu accepted the plan and gave the team the full rundown. For him, his friends' lives always came first, no matter what. Midu totally hardened his resolve to get way stronger. He swore he'd get everyone home safe, no matter how long it took. But when he told the others they'd be stuck in this new world longer than expected, the reactions were, well, pretty mixed. Everyone immediately wanted to know how long they'd be gone. Hashimoto, looking pretty uncomfortable, admitted it would be at least 2 years. Yeah, 2 years is a huge chunk of time to train, but it was way better than just risking their lives for nothing. The person who absolutely hated this whole compromise, that was Arashi. The guy just straight up kicked the table in front of him. He wasn't having any of this plan. Nope. Even if they won, Arashi argued, people might die, but he insisted they only needed to kill the Demon Lord. He said that anyone who was scared could sit and wait. Midu yelled that he didn't want anyone to die, which was why his option was best. Arashi lost his temper, stomped his foot, and charged forward, calling Midu a coward. He prepared to throw a punch, yelling, "Let me open your eyes!" Midu immediately summoned his holy sword and used shield mode, creating a defensive barrier. The punch was blocked, but still created a large explosion and caused significant damage. Smoke and dust filled the air. A voice echoed from the dust cloud. "You think you can beat me with just that?" Midu continued, arguing they had to defeat the Demon Lord together, as they already had trouble with just one heavenly king. He felt it was best to train and improve their skills. Arashi, still holding up his fist, challenged, "You think you've won?" Chains appeared, restraining both of them, accompanied by Jin's voice telling them not to move. Both looked over in surprise. Jin yelled at them to calm down, asking if they were trying to destroy the castle. Midu withdrew his hand. "My bad, Kanzaki." Arashi strained and broke the chains, calling them annoying. Jin muttered about the energy he expended creating that dominion spell. Arashi insisted they should develop their strength through battles, as trials make them grow faster. He asked Midu if he understood. Mireille stepped forward, agreeing with Midu. Rina also spoke up, asking if it wouldn't be better to be safe than to be wiped out. Heike said the world wasn't so bad, and Satoshi didn't want to be killed because of impatience. Carrie raised her hand slightly, agreeing with Arashi. Rina asked why. Carrie replied that she understood Midu's point, but wanted to go home as soon as possible. Yumi noted that everyone felt that way. Carrie's eyes welled up with tears, as she confessed she only had her sick mother at home. She remembered her mother in her sickbed, worried because she was all alone. Cao also sided with Arashi, explaining he lived with his younger sister after their parents abandoned them. He wanted to go back to help her. Shiori lowered her head, admitting her reason wasn't as compelling, but her family must be worried. She couldn't let them wait another 2 years. Hearing those words, the others felt sad. Midu, seeing their expressions, understood. Narumi declared boisterously that he had about 3 girlfriends and also wanted to go back. Mireille commented on his nerve. Atsushi smiled, stating they would always be Arashi's allies. Kina agreed, saying following Arashi was the right decision. Akira seemed hesitant, but compared to Midu's hesitation, he felt he should trust the decisive Arashi. Arashi turned back to them. Midu, they've already said it. Midu hung his head speechless, asking himself what to do. Arashi strode forward confidently, saying there was no need for further discussion. He walked out the door, announcing he would act on his own. Anyone willing to die, come with me. Those who supported Arashi immediately followed. Carrie also turned to leave. Rina and Yumi tried to hold her back, calling her name. Carrie closed her eyes and chose to follow her heart, apologizing to Rina as she followed Arashi's group. Those who remained watched them go with worried looks. Mireille asked Narumi why he wasn't going. He replied that they needed a liaison. Jean felt conflicted, wanting to follow Arashi for his grandfather's sake, but remembering guidance from Shinju to stay. Outside, Kai and Mireille returned and stood before everyone. A voice shouted, "What do you want, you bastard?" The crowd preparing to leave became agitated upon seeing Kai. "Shinju, how dare you come here?" Akira snapped at them to not cause a scene. Kai glanced over. Arashi cautioned him, looking down and saying, "We don't have time for you. If you don't have a good reason for showing up, you'll pay the price." Kai spoke seriously. "You're right. I think I should be honest. I want to borrow your strength." Arashi was surprised and asked. Before Kai appeared, he and Mireille were outside listening. She turned and asked, "Your classmates are arguing. Are they really okay?" Kai replied, "I don't know, however. Their thoughts sound reasonable. Like Midas said, they can't do this alone. On the other hand, the Holy Kingdom's approach is too passive. What Arashi said about waiting 2 years is also true, but it's definitely more dangerous." Mireille, Mayor, asked Kai, "If it were you, what would you do?" He raised his hand. "There are 3 ways to break this current situation. First, change the mindset of the leaders of the Holy Kingdom. We have to force them to change. As long as I can return to my world, nothing else matters. But I don't think Midu will agree with this plan." Mireille asked, "What's the second option?" Kai answered, "We'll do what Arashi said, use guerrilla tactics. Based on the information we've gathered and according to what Isabel said, the Demon Kingdom isn't united. If we sabotage their rear, we can incite a civil war. Although I don't think Arashi can do that." Mireille, having seen his hot-headed personality, agreed. "So, what about the third option?" Kai smiled. "We act based on the information we have. We'll gather some more information. If everything goes well, we can get help from other parties. Ultimately, it will force the Demon Kingdom's army to act." Amidst a large fire, Kai sat with Arashi's group. Arashi frowned. "What the hell is the Cat Tribe princess?" Kai replied, "She's the daughter of the Cat Tribe chief. It seems like she's been captured. She's one of the most important people of the Beast Tribe, that's for sure." He added, "That's the information I got after torturing a lot of demons, so this information might be true." The girls felt scared upon hearing the word torture, thinking he was terrifying. Akira wondered who he really was and how he had a pistol. Ineo noticed Mireille, Mayor, and thought she was cute. Arashi, biting meat, continued, "That's why I asked what the hell is this princess thing? What do we have to do with the beastmen?" Atsushi asked if they were animals with ears for tails. Kinta exclaimed he wanted to see them, saying they must be adorable. Arashi snapped, "Shut up, you guys." Kai continued, "Now let's talk about our plan. First, you know there's a Beastman nation in the Southern Territory, right?" Akira asked. "The Grandana's Beastman Federation." Kai confirmed it was a neutral nation. Arashi seemed doubtful. "You're telling us to seek their help? They're just a bunch of demon-fearing cowards." Mireille interrupted. "Their soldiers are stronger than you think. Their physical abilities and senses are honed. They've repelled the Demon Lord's army's invasions multiple times." Arashi questioned why they were so passive then. Mireille smiled, explaining they weren't strong enough to annihilate the Demon Lord's army, which had focused on humans. Kai stated the main point. If the Holy Kingdom and the Beastmen joined forces, it would be entirely possible. Akira spoke up. I understand. So that's why we need the princess. Kari asked, we just need to rescue the princess and use her as a bargaining chip. Kai replied, basically yes. I already have information on their supply route. I want you guys to be the bait. His gaze was serious. Just devastate the place with your explosion, while I'll stay hidden. Akira interrupted. I get your point, but why hasn't the Holy Kingdom tried to secure cooperation with the Federation? Kai exclaimed. Good question, Nanomiya. Mirai answered. The Federation also hates demons, but humans have always called beastmen inferior and oppressed them. Therefore, the beastmen hate humans. Carrie worried. So asking for their cooperation will be very difficult, right? Kai added, the cat tribe princess has been captured. The situation is very favorable for us. Mirai smiled. Beastmen are known for keeping their promises. Once we rescue her, we can negotiate. After the plan was laid out, everyone fell silent. Kai asked, it's worth a try, right? I'm sure you guys don't have any plans. Arashi stood up. You suddenly appeared and made such a demand. You always act like you know everything. Chao's voice called out, reminding Arashi his decision would affect everyone's lives. Arashi struggled, gritting his teeth, upset with Kai. Everyone waited. Finally, he made his decision. Fine, we'll do it your way. Morning came, and Kai and Arashi's group began to move. Carrie spoke up. We've been heading south this whole time. Is that really okay? Kai replied, yes. The Grandana's Federation is located in the southern region. As for the demons, they're transporting the prisoners north. Our destination is the road through the forest south of the Demon Kingdom's territory. We'll know exactly where they're going. Akira added, Eso. To be precise, we're infiltrating the Demon Kingdom. Is there a chance we'll be discovered? Kai reassured everyone. Don't worry, I've gathered information on the routes. Although the path might be rough, and there are a lot of monsters. Akira wondered if their carriage could get through. Kai added, there's also something important. If we encounter danger, we can rely on Sorero's abilities, right? Tomoko replied excitedly. Of course. Her divine protection was multi-dimensional space. She turned to Kai. It's been a while, but you still remember my divine protection? He replied, because your ability is very special. Tomoko seemed pleased. Kai turned to Shinju, which seems to be Kai's alias. Have you been infiltrating the Demon Kingdom since the incident? He replied, not exactly. I've been searching for clues so we can go home. Shiori immediately asked, so what are the results? Kai's answer was, we only have one option to defeat the Demon Lord, so I've gathered all the necessary information. Akira wondered, so the result is that the Beast Tribe princess has been kidnapped? That's so like Shinju. Arashi Arise seemed impatient. By the way, is it okay for us to be walking this slowly? Shouldn't we be planning a raid? Kai agreed. You're right, we need to speed up. Let's have Sorero store the luggage and the carriage. That evening, the group switched to traveling on foot. Arashi noticed immediately and shouted, monsters! Everyone get ready! They were surrounded by ferocious night wolves. Behind Shiori, a wolf lunged. Kai immediately stepped forward to protect her. The wolf bit Kai's arm but only broke its teeth. Kai smirked. Sorry, but your attack can't get through my steel. He then punched it hard. Akari reminded everyone, we're surrounded. Support members gather in the center. Vanguard pushed them back. She used a support command to buff her teammates. Those with combat abilities stepped forward. Empowered, they quickly took down the wolves. Kari, with her control abilities, launched vines and shouted, stop! The bound wolf stumbled. Ineo rushed forward and dealt a finishing blow. Meanwhile, another wolf leaped towards Arashi. Erasure. He calmly reached out and grabbed its neck. Trash. You're nothing in front of me. He blasted it with an explosion. The wolf was charred black. Arashi tossed it aside and asked if anyone was hurt. Kai observed and thought, everyone's doing great. I don't need to worry. It's good that Erasure is realizing his leadership potential. He then reminded everyone, if anyone gets hurt, have Hano heal you. Kai sensed something approaching. Mayu, he called out. A sharp-fanged wolf remains. It appeared behind Arashi, startling him. There's still one left, Mayu shouted. Fire salamander! A large flame swept past, incinerating the wolf. Atsushi marveled at the firepower. Kina exclaimed, look, it's completely roasted. Isn't she much stronger than Naga? Arashi clicked his tongue. Really unnecessary, Shinju's girlfriend. Hearing this, Mayu blushed and pointed fiercely at Kai. Who's his girlfriend? He remained calm. Be a little grateful. She just saved you. Arashi gave him a dubious look. Mayu stared intently at Kai. Waiting, he walked away. I don't care about such trivial things, she retorted. This isn't trivial. Atsushi sounded envious. Kenta admired. I also want to find a beautiful girlfriend here. After the battle, the girls approached Mayu. Carrie waved. Hey, your name is Mayu, right? Do you want to talk with us? Are you a sprite? Mayu looked at Kai for help, but he remained indifferent. What are you looking at me for? Do what you want. She smiled brightly and replied, okay. Kai was relieved to see Mayu fitting in. Sometime later, on a nearby cliff, Arashi, Erasure, sitting down, asked, "Are you sure they'll pass through here? I don't want to wait for days." Kai used his appraisal eye to look down below. He saw small figures moving closer. "Don't worry, I see them." Kai used his divine power to assess the demon army. He realized there were 3 low-level demons, 15 mid-level demons, and more in the carriages. Among them, only one level 36 demon. His name is Zaganda, 57 years old, a high-ranking demon. His stats are all at A and B levels. His skills are level 4 wind magic, level 2 demon fire magic, and level 2 demon enslavement magic. Arashi asked, "A high-ranking demon is their leader, right?" Kai replied, "Probably. Don't underestimate him. Although he's not as strong as Stonegear, a high-ranking demon is still formidable." Hearing that, Arashi frowned. "Leave him to me. If you get in my way, I'll kill you." Kai glanced at him. "I intended to leave him to you from the beginning. Our strategy is simple. First, Erasure will distract them with his explosive shot skill. Once their formation is broken, we'll surround them. Everyone else will move in teams of 3. Kai continued giving orders. "Inio and Zanagi, you must protect Hano." The two acknowledged. "Next, Ozaki, your mission is to locate and escort the wounded." Ozaki replied, "Leave it to me." "Mayu, you support everyone from the rear. Erasure, your mission is to confront the high-ranking demon. While you're fighting, I'll sneak in and rescue the princess. Once she's safe, I'll signal you. Finally, everyone else, act according to the situation. If things get unfavorable, you can retreat." Arashi appeared confident. "Don't worry, once I blow their leader's head off, the rest will scatter." Kai looked at him. "All right, I'll leave you in charge of the battle." Someone in the crowd spoke up. "You should know we're here because you need our help." Kinta shouted agreement. "That's right. What's with the high and mighty act?" Atsushi pointed accusingly. "Don't you dare order Arashi-san around." From behind, Arashi, furious, yelled, "Shut up, you idiots!" and knocked their heads. He stepped forward. "Hurry up and get ready. We'll follow his plan." On the demon army's side, Zaganda was observing. A demon complained, "I'm tired, boss." "Ever since we left the two people's territory," Zaganda yelled. "We're almost there. Don't get careless." Then he thought, "I anticipated this. It really is tiring." Zaganda closed his eyes. "Sitting on the horse this whole time has made my back ache, but I can't let the soldiers see me like this." An idea popped into his head. "That's right. I should go check on the prisoner girl." He turned to the soldiers. "I'm going to see what that girl is doing. Guard carefully." The soldiers thought, "The old man wants to sneak off and rest." A beast woman was tied up, the princess, Sina. Zaganda entered and sat by the door, fatigued. "Finally, we're here." He rubbed his chin and looked at Sina. "Princess, what do you think? We're almost at the city where you'll be imprisoned. Your Federation soldiers can't reach this far." Sina complained. "This carriage is ridiculously bumpy." He stopped, surprised, then cleared his throat. "But don't worry. If the Federation obeys our orders, you'll be released." Sina shook her head. "That it's useless. Once you've captured me, the Federation won't bow down." He smirked. "That it seems you still don't understand your position." She remained defiant. "If you think kidnapping me will persuade them, you're an idiot." Zaganda's eyes flashed. "Watch your mouth, you bitch!" He grabbed the front of her shirt and ripped it open, stunning Sina. He stuck out his long, perverse tongue. "Let me have a taste of you," he said, "that I'll show you where you stand." The princess's gaze remained unchanged. Zaganda reached out. Suddenly, a large explosion erupted outside. Startled, he paused and pulled back the curtain. "What's happening?" A demon soldier reported. "We're under attack. It's humans." Zaganda was worried. "Humans?" More explosions rocked the carriage. He jumped onto his horse. "Counterattack! Don't be afraid!" Both sides clashed. Atsushi and Kinta attacked relentlessly. Kai and the others supported each other. Zaganda looked at the battlefield anxiously. "Am I losing?" Arashi, Erasure, rolled his shoulders and stepped in front of him. "You're a high-ranking demon, right?" Zaganda summoned his weapon. "Who the hell are you?" Arashi clenched his fists, grinning. "I don't need to tell trash like you my name. I'll tell you if you put on a little show for me." The insult enraged Zaganda. He roared and attacked. "Shut up! The likes of you are nothing to me." He launched a powerful attack. Arashi jumped up, throwing a punch. Zaganda used his spear to block it. "You think you can beat me? With this kind of firepower?" Arashi's face showed worry. Zaganda thrust his spear, forcing Arashi to jump back. He kept a safe distance. Arashi grimaced, thinking, "He's strong, but still not as strong as that other guy. I just need to add a little more energy. My blast takes a lot of energy. I can only fire it 7 more times. If I overuse my divine power, my physical abilities will decrease. I just need to create an opening and aim for this guy's head or heart." He crouched slightly and placed his hand on the ground to plant a trap. Meanwhile, Zaganda was thinking, "These warriors are human. They possess divine power. Could they be the hero candidates of legend?" He twirled his spear. "If they're the ones who defeated Windbox and Stonegeyer, then I need to be more careful. How are they able to pinpoint my location? They're intending to rescue the Beast Tribe princess. Fortunately, I assigned soldiers to guard the princess. Zaganda's eyes hardened. I need to make a decisive move. I need to defeat the one who's leading them. He charged towards Arashi. That I'll decide this battle with a single blow. Lightning thrust. The attack was sudden, but Arashi managed to dodge. Seeing his torn clothes, he was startled by Zaganda's speed. Arashi focused on the demon. Zaganda was urging his horse forward, right where Arashi wanted him. He smiled, right at my minefield. Arashi used Mind Blast, creating a large explosion that startled Zaganda. What is this? The explosion frightened his horse. Singed, Zaganda thought. Is this a trap skill? Damn it, my vision is blocked. As Arashi charged forward, he thought, Mind Blast is just a trap skill. But I've finally created an opening. He appeared behind Zaganda, his hand glowing red. Now I just need to ambush him with Blast. But before he could, Zaganda's eyes flashed. There you are. A powerful gust of wind erupted. Wind thrust. Arashi grimaced. He couldn't dodge completely. The thrust sent him sprawling. His teammates called his name. Arashi got up, clutching his stomach. That hurts. Focus on the situation, everyone. Zaganda raised his voice. You can't even use your energy to protect yourself anymore. However, he was still worried. His instincts were as sharp as an animal's. I figured out his fighting style. He can set explosive traps. He can detonate anything he touches. Zaganda stepped down confidently. As long as I hold this spear firmly, I can win. Arashi, his face determined, thought, I guess that's what you're thinking, huh? Zaganda extended his hand, continuing wind thrust, forcing Arashi to dodge. He smirked. This distance is perfect. From this range, he won't be able to touch me. Arashi asked him, so you've figured out my fighting style? Zaganda smiled. Obviously, you're always changing your position. Arashi raised his hand. That's right, the one who's unguarded is you. He used his skill, Cannon Blast, firing a beam of energy. Zaganda's eyes widened. Arashi poured more energy into the blast. A large explosion occurred. A large crater remained. Zaganda lay motionless, blood flowing from his mouth. Arashi stood there, his coat billowing. Information appeared. Name, Erasure Sunsuk. Age, 17. Divine Protection, Explosive Blast Level. Divine Protection, Mind Blast Level 2. Divine Protection, Cannon Blast Level 2. Physical Strength Level 4. Mayu on the sidelines was astonished. Whoa, he took down a high-ranking demon all by himself. The demon soldiers panicked. Lord Zaganda is dead. Have we lost? Akira, while attacking, shouted, Erasure defeated a high-ranking demon. Let's keep up this momentum. He used support buffs. Everyone's weapons gained increased damage, and they launched a full-scale attack, easily defeating the leaderless demons. Kai stood with 2 daggers and walked forward to a carriage. This must be the carriage, right? He stepped forward and pulled back the curtain. Before him was Sina, her top ripped open. The princess spoke. Human, are you here to help me? Kai looked at her. I'm wondering that myself. He took out a dagger and stepped closer, cutting her ropes. She wiped her face and asked Kai what he was aiming for. He coldly replied, something that the demons also want. I've decided to use you to achieve my goal. Sina rubbed her wrists. How honest of you. Kai replied indifferently, there's no reason to lie. Or would you prefer to hear that we're here to save you? Sina dropped her hand. I can't. But if that's the case, you think it's reasonable for me to fight you, right? Immediately, her hand shifted into a demigod beast form, covered in fur and claws. Sina's eyes turned cold as she lunged at Kai. He reacted quickly, leaping back. Sina, in a frenzy, attacked Kai. She swiped with sharp claws, but he dodged them. Kai, weapon in hand, admitted she was fast. The two clashed fiercely. This, the power of a beast man. Sina's flurry of attacks were easily blocked. After a while, he grew tired and shouted, Jolt! Bolts of lightning struck Sina. Her eyes widened. She slammed face first into the ground. Kai pinned her. He thought, a basic lightning spell, nothing powerful, but really handy. Sina gritted her teeth. TGH, how can a human be so strong? Kai narrowed his eyes. Finally realizing the difference in our power, you have 2 choices. 1, restrain yourself and follow me. 2, obey me. Knowing she was no match, Sina resigned. Fine, going with a human is better than going with a demon anyway. The group led by Arashi, Erasure, had the upper hand. Monsters lay scattered. One remained, roaring in fear, sweating. Who are they? There's no way I can win. They're monsters themselves. Arashi called out to Kaori, Chinami, who immediately drew a magic circle. Vines glowed and wrapped around the monster's legs, pulling it flat. Arashi slowly approached, grabbed its chin, and squeezed. Tell the demon lord this, he growled. We have no quarrel with him. We'll just blow his head off. Not long after, everyone gathered. Arashi held a piece of meat. Their carriage had so much food. Kina took a bite. We're having a feast today. Kaori felt guilty, like they were robbing someone. The girl beside her laughed. Meanwhile, Sina sat hesitantly. Kai spoke up. What's wrong? Why aren't you eating? Although Sina was drooling, she held back. Is it really all right for me to eat? Arashi tore off a large piece. It's been a long time since I've had a decent meal. Kai slurped some soup and glanced at Sina. That we still need something from you. So if you die, we'll be in trouble. So eat. Hearing this, Sina no longer held back, thanking them. After one mouthful, her expression was like heaven. S.O. good. The girl beside her was proud. Delicious, right? Hano's cooking is always amazing. Hano was embarrassed. Mare asked, Your name is Sina, right? How did the demons manage to kidnap you? Sina remained silent, then recounted the events. I ran into the Demon Lord's army while I was hunting in the forest. She recalled the scene. That I was deep within the Federation's territory. Normally, demons wouldn't be there. Sina hesitated. Does that mean they knew where I was beforehand? Kai calmly speculated. Perhaps they were already planning to invade the Federation. Kidnapping you was one of their objectives. Kaori wondered why. The girl beside her answered, because they invaded the Holy Kingdom. Maybe they want to rule the world, right? Sina agreed that that's exactly what the demons are planning. But what do you humans want from me? Kai frankly expressed his intentions, that we need you to be our bargaining chip. We want to cooperate with the Federation to destroy the Demon Lord. Sina asked back, Destroy the Demon Lord? Are you serious? Arashi suddenly spoke up. We have our reasons. He explained, We can't return to our world until we defeat the Demon Lord. Sina finally understood. That I see. So you're the hero candidates. I heard that humans summoned you. Kai asked, So what do you think? If you sincerely help us, it would be a great help. Sina nodded. That I understand. I owe you for saving me. Kai casually threw cold water on her, but we weren't planning on rescuing you. Sina was taken aback, but didn't argue. Well, you did save me in the end, and you gave me warm food. Sina clearly expressed her viewpoint. Moreover, to purge the demons within the Federation, I need support from a third party. This is just my intuition, Sina stated, but I think there's a spy among the high-ranking members of the Federation. All right, that's where we'll wrap it up for today. Now, I want to hear from you. What would you rate this story on a scale of 0 to 10?